and the channel is live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adventure on So Many Levels. We're playing Root, the role-playing game.
Woo!
Yay!
I'm
Woo!
Christiana Ellis, and I am the game master this evening. Our players, Paul Weimer as Arbon Ironwing,
It would appear that Sundell is not going to be our forever home.
Nobilis
Forever home.
as Lancelot Reed, or excuse me, Lancelot Vent.
Oh, wow!
Yeah, so you know
Wow!
what? You threw
My
me.
disguise is just that impenetrable. Even the
Wow.
game master doesn't know who I am.
Well, you know what? I figured it out. It's Lancelot Vent. And then also moving on, Jason Banks as Clem Sparrow.
Well, hello, guys. Hopefully, I can buff out these marks on this shell.
David Archambault as Nigel Farnboot.
Always on the move.
And Lee Burdett as Peppa Pika.
Hello!
So, when last we left our vagabonds, they got jumped in the alleys of Pinehorn, attacked by representatives of the Riverfolk Company, or at least people who belonged to the Riverfolk Company. I don't think they were there in an official capacity, because they were acting as bounty hunters looking for Clem, who apparently has fled an arranged marriage, and that's why people have been looking for him. However, you fought off these would-be bounty hunters, killing one of them, managed to hide the body, sending it floating downstream into the river, but feeling as though you had better not let the sun rise on you still in Pinehorn. And sure enough, you made your way to meet up with a smuggling boat, which happened to be captained by none other than Tondrick Brickle, a smuggler of your past acquaintance. And he agreed to give you a ride to the banks near Sundell, where you returned with news and hope of a paycheck, given your activities sabotaging the Grand Duchy in Ironvein. You learned a couple of things. One is that apparently, after you left, Nomi, the mayor's assistant in Sundell, who didn't like you very much, also apparently had been coordinating with Venick the thief to steal the contents of the town's seed vault, which and then got away clean, apparently. So that's not great. However, fair's fair. The town is grateful for your assistance, even though they're a little creeped out by some of your methods, and they paid you handsomely, but suggested that probably you should be moving along. In the meantime, you're planning to eventually head up to Patchwood, where you have been ordered by criminals to assassinate a Marcus 8 count. So, you know, the usual.
Yeah, the usual.
So as we left the meeting of the Farmer's Circle, it's evening. You've been told that you can stay in Greta Cumberly's barn again if you would care to. And what else would you like to do?
Well, I was wondering if I'd be able to roll pickpocket against Peppa
Okay.
to get her tea.
Oh.
Okay.
I didn't
Get
see
my
this coming.
E.
The tea. The tea.
Oh, the tea.
tea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think what makes sense here is that you would need to. Do you have sleight of hand as a roguish feat, Nigel?
I have pickpocket.
Oh, well, pickpocket, I guess, is even different. So, yeah. If you have pickpocket, then yes, I would say you would attempt a roguish feat. But Well, you know what? That has its own built-in, criteria, right? So I don't
Yeah.
think you contest a roll with Peppa at all. You just roll pickpocket.
Hmm.
And that would be a 12.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So, the goal here is to just lift those 2 tea bags from Peppa.
Yeah, because saw what the other types or other tea did,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just not safe. We can't have
Oh, it's for our own good.
Well, okay.
I
Actually,
see.
I want to take this back. Oh, yikes! Sorry, I just dropped my dice tray on the floor. Please give me a moment, everybody. I'm sorry. One moment.
do do do
Live
do
streaming.
do 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 do
Do-do-do.
do do
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do.
I do not think that we have a future in musicality.
No, not.
Especially not with a 500 millisecond delay.
No.
Yeah, I guess a question might have been, would Nigel actually know about the tea, about more of the tea?
Well, we know what the effects of the first one that Peppa had.
Yeah.
We're getting applause in the chat, by the way,
Yay!
from one of the 5 people.
Hey, I'm okay with
One
that.
fan is better than 0 fans,
Yeah.
folks. Thank you. Thank you for your applause.
I might actually know who that person is.
All right.
Yes.
So yes, I didn't want my dog to
And
try
just
chewing
dice.
on one of my.
Yeah.
you'd
bad
be
punch.
you'd be rocketing to the ER. That's not a good.
So part of what I was trying to do there was I was going to try to see if I could look up real quick if the book has special rules about these sorts of making moves against NPCs, but or PCs, but it doesn't matter. I will find that out later. We have already decided on a way to rule this. However, here's the thing that I want to take back just for a moment, which is to say, does Nigel even know that Peppa has the other 2 tea bags? He wasn't
Peppa
present
have
when she
shared that?
bought them.
Yeah. That's a really good question. I don't.
You saw her come back with the one that she made at the table with that tea bag. But I don't know. Peppa, would you have told anybody about the other 2?
I'm trying to channel impaired Peppa brain, and I don't rightly know. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to roll. I'm
Okay.
going to roll 2d6, and if it's higher than a 6, then I did say something, and if it's lower than a 6, then I didn't.
Okay.
Say yes or roll the dice. Roll the dice.
And I got an 11, so I did say something.
Okay. Was that the way? Okay. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got an 11, so Peppa was chatty. I mean, we
That was
already
a
knew
no.
that she was chatty.
Okay.
So
So in that case, then you did know about this, and in that case, your pickpocket attempt.
Yeah, I imagine, Peppa maybe stumbles on something and, Magical goes to steady her and slips a hand in and just comes out with some tea.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And he just puts it away.
All right. So I think then, Peppa, I will kind of leave it to you, because anytime we're doing PvP type stuff, we always want to just make sure everyone's kind of on board here. I will allow you, Peppa, to decide when you realize that you don't have it anymore. With the counter that it isn't right away because we already established that he was successful in lifting it from you. So
Yeah, I think Peppa spends most of, she's had a chance to sleep off most of it, but I want to say that the tea plus whiskey combination left her with something of a pretty bad hangover.
Well,
so
so-
she was kind of out of it.
hang
So
on.
I
No,
don't-
so remember when would this have happened, Nigel? Because
I figured.
we're not talking about when Peppa was impaired. That was a week ago, right?
Oh,
That was
okay.
before you that was the night you traveled down the river, and then
Yeah,
you
I
traveled
figured we were-
several days across the path to Sundell.
Yeah, we were in Sundell. It's like going to where we're staying tonight is when I.
Okay, yeah. So
Okay,
you weren't.
so, yeah.
Your impairment would have worn off unless you
Okay,
had
okay.
too much to drink at the Lumpy Tuber.
No, probably not. That's bit me in the butt recently, so I probably would have abstained for the most part. So yeah, I'll say that it's probably after we've left Sundell. So
Well,
probably not
so
for a couple of days.
Let's just wait then, and you just say when, because right
Okay.
now we have just observed that this happens on your way to Greta Cumberly's barn, I guess.
Mhm.
All right.
Yep.
So you have been paid, and we established, I believe, last time that you took some of it in coin and then some of it too in miscellaneous supplies. So
Okay.
you basically are, not being hurried out the door or anything, but it's just there's some heat on you that the town is a little bit worried about, is what it is.
Yeah.
So, what's the plan?
Well, for this evening, I would like to ask Clem if he can fix my armor, because my armor is just about ready to go kaplooey. If
How
he,
many,
if he finishes shell, but yeah,
how many boxes of where have you taken?
2 out of 3.
Okay. I just need the pieces and some time, I think. Because it's not completely destroyed. I think it would take longer if it's completely.
Right. Yeah. So if you're just repairing, it's you can clear boxes of wear in exchange for boxes of depletion 1 for 1, just to
Okay.
represent supplies you're using in the repair. But otherwise, that's it.
All right, so that sounds good. So I'll take 2 of those, make that to 3. All right, thank you. That'll be useful, especially if we're going to do this assassination thing.
Ugh.
Hearing a little bit of
Do
sound in
we-
the background from somebody. Some voices.
I was gonna say, but do we have to do the assassination?
Well, that's something we might want to
That's-
talk about on the way out of Sundown.
Yeah.
That is
yeah,
a very good question. I still
yeah.
want good armor, whether we're killing any cats or not.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and not on the way out, after we're out.
Yeah, or on the road
Uh,
to
Yes,
Yeah.
somewhere.
when out of earshot of people who'd be like, "What did you just
Mhm.
say?"
Yeah, we already have a shitty reputation here, so yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say it's spotty at best. I mean, the fact that the
Checkered?
lady, the fact that the lady dipped out of town kind of helped out, because if she was still here, it would not be so good.
No, no, they would be looking to imprison us or worse. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
thankfully, she hiked
but of
over.
course she's gone because she stole all of their seed reserves.
Yes, and
So-
if we
That is
catch her and can bring those back, maybe we can clear our names. Oh God, we really are the end team.
Oh my
God.
Dun, dun, dun. Play that banjo, Lancelot.
Okay.
Oh, man.
So yeah, that's my
So-
only agenda for the evening.
So yeah, right now we're staying the night at the farm.
So I mean,
Um,
if you're thinking that you're not going to have any more actual business in town, we could just go ahead and move to the travel.
Travel meeting.
But you had talked a little bit about going to check on Jinx.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
There
Yeah.
is also, all of the business with the recruiting center, which has made some progress in its construction. So you could check that out too. But I mean, that's all optional. You all tell me.
Well,
Yeah, I
definitely
would
gonna
like.
talk to Jinx.
Yeah, I would like to see how things are going, especially after her good showing at the plow.
Didn't we find an opportunity for Jinx?
Yeah, I think it was
Where
Yeah.
with
we
the
were
guy who,
past.
yeah, with the guy that, with the one who won, because he was impressed with the way the
No,
machine worked, right?
no,
no,
not here.
I'm thinking that there was somewhere else that we were, and they
Uh,
had an invention or something or a need or something, and we're like, Jinx could fix that, or Jinx could come up with a way to do
Oh,
that.
yeah.
oh,
That was,
Well, there was the person who is trying to invent a new kind of ship back in Pinehorn.
yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And wasn't there also some mention of um like automated bellows that in Iron Vein?
Yeah, but we don't want to
Yeah,
send someone we like to Iron Vein.
No,
Yeah.
this is
yeah, not anymore.
Well, something to
Well, so
consider.
if are you thinking that that's the only other business you would have in town before you?
Oh, we'd also want to make see if we can get ourselves some, or at least other people some less lethal weapons.
Right. So you're thinking you want to do that in town here.
I would assume so.
if we have a little if we're gonna spend a day spend one more day here and then leave, then we can do weapon shopping and or making and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then move along rather than leaving at the crack of dawn tomorrow morning.
Okay.
I mean, so like you all just
Yep.
That sounds fine to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll obtain a club tomorrow
Okay.
to add to my weapon repertoire.
Sure. So do we want to just establish specifically what you're buying then?
I am buying for now a simple club which has the tag blunted and has 2 wear, so that's a cost of 3.
Okay.
Which that plus the stuff I gave to Clem uses up all the 5 I got from Sundown.
So one note here is that if you're going to have like boxes of wear, I suppose those could potentially be costs for mixed successes and that sort of thing, or penalties for other things. But generally speaking, with a weapon, a box of wear is if it has a special move, you mark wear to use it, right? Like Trick Shot does that, for example. So if you don't have a skill for that, but that's okay. We could still have it just be something like if you're doing something else and you need a consequence, then we can have it be that.
Yeah, failing on an attack roll. Like, oh yeah, instead of hitting the guy, bang the wall, take a box of wear to my club. Yeah. Simple and easy.
All right, so
Okay.
club for Arbin for when maybe you
When-
only want to knock someone out instead of
Instead
run them
of
through.
spilling it, but yes, exactly.
Yeah. This was as a result of this scene in last session where
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lancelot suggested that perhaps the problem of the when the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail applied to swords,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
And
that
sharp, pointy
maybe we
things.
wouldn't be quite so bloodthirsty if we weren't
I
all
didn't actually
walking.
kill anybody last time. I
No,
just hurt
yes,
them a lot.
but yeah,
To be fair, Peppa's the one who perforated the wolves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But it's a good life lesson for all of us. Hence buying the club.
Yeah.
Note to self: don't drink Pippa's tea or use the punch dagger. Got it.
What tea?
Oh, Nigel.
All right. So, who else is buying something?
I like the idea of the sling.
Mm-hmm.
You said that the cards you had it have trick shot.
Yes. So there's a an equipment deck that
Mm-hmm.
you can get with for the game, and so the
Yes.
sling has the tag tricky, which is a weapon tag that lets you use it for distracting NPCs. It has the weapon skill trick shot.
Mm-hmm.
The range is far only.
Okay.
But you could make it cost one more in order to make it closer. Although you have to imagine that the way a sling works, like that, it seems hazardous to try to do that at close range with someone.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the difference between letting the rock fly and then having a half brick and a sock.
Right.
And
And so and then it had 2 boxes of wear and cost four
okay,
value.
yeah, I will definitely invest that.
Okay. So, any other purchases?
Lancelot, you already
Uh,
have a staff, right?
Yep, I do.
Anything that I buy is going to be just to improve on the show. But I've just got to figure out the calculation. I'm doing that right
Mm-hmm.
Have a spike coming out of the center of the shell.
now.
Well,
Didn't
Actually-
we just say we're trying not to kill people?
I didn't have doesn't have to be a pointy spike. It could be a blunted spike.
Actually, like a,
Oh,
I,
oh.
kind of like a kickstand kind of things to help him get up.
yeah. I'm just
make it easier to get up
imagining,
after
yeah,
you-
all of those blunted spikes you see all over the place. Because
I'm just
Oh
thinking,
man.
something to hide that. If he blinged out the shell, it would maybe
No,
hide.
no, no, no,
the...
no, 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 no. The word you need right here is ankylosaur.
Oh, good old Enki.
all right. So, if there's more purchases, but you're still just trying to figure out like the math of it, then we can sort of still imagine that that's happened later because you're flush with cash at the moment. So rather
like-
than waiting on it, you can kind of work on that, and we can assume that
Yeah.
you have figured it out.
Yeah. So Clem bought something, but it's like, he's just examining it and not showing us what it is yet.
He's buying parts for which to make modifications to his shell, not merely his actual biological shell, but the ways that he has kitted out his shell to act as his toolbox.
Okay.
Okay, so you are also going to head down to the Callaway farm?
Yes.
Okay. I think, given that it's going to be, mid-morning by this time, right?
Yeah.
So I think you head out there and you see Murdy Calloway, Jinx's dad, slightly awkwardly using Jinx's automated plow thing to plow his field. It's working, but he seems like he's still got about 60% confidence. I think, you having met the man probably believe that his hesitation is now less about the machine and more about his own ability to use it properly. But it seems like it's working.
Yeah.
He sees you coming, I imagine, and there's a moment where he's like, just a second, as he's being vibrated by this thing. And he's fiddling with it, and then he looks like he can't quite figure out how to make it stop sooner, and then he actually just sort of leaps free of it, and it kind of tips over. Is like, well, welcome back to town, y'all.
Hello.
So,
Yes.
did you just get back in town, or have you?
Yeah, pretty much.
We got in last night.
Well, there's been a lot of stuff going on here. I don't know what you've heard.
We got most
yeah.
of the lowdown.
Well,
Ah.
let's hear it from your point of view, though.
Well, obviously people are excited about gossip of some of the stuff we've been hearing out in Iron Vein. Sounds like maybe y'all had something to do with some of that, which kind of crazy if you ask me. But hey, if it slows them down, I'm not complaining. But we also got the seed vault got robbed.
Mm.
Yeah, we heard about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's I mean, the whole point of the savings is that, it's not like you touch it every day, so it's not like anyone's going hungry today or tomorrow, but like it was supposed to be backup, and so without that backup, everyone's feeling a little more antsy.
Yeah, it's that,
Especially in these times with the duchy and the marquisate and everything else swirling around.
Yeah. I think people are coming around in the idea that we're just gonna have to go ahead and have the Marcus 8 come on in. I mean, I don't see any way around it at this point, and at least the alternatives seem like worse. I'm not like thrilled or anything, except, I have to say, that Lady Elaine is really nice to me. And Jinx, like, well, gosh, you're probably wondering, they're sending her to the fancy Marcus 8 engineering school.
Oh,
Gave her a whole
Really?
scholarship and everything. She's on her way. Just got a letter from her sent from Milltown.
excellent.
Yeah.
That's very impressive. I'm kind of jealous.
Well, I have to say, it's a little bit of a rough go for me personally. Having my little girl leave home and short a pair of hands as skilled as hers. But hey, seemed like the best thing for her. So, that was my priority, and it seems like they're. She's going to be far from any kind of front lines if there's any fighting, God forbid. But, also it seems like, she's got her natural gifts already. Like, I certainly am not going to be able to teach her how to improve that. So, they got some of those fancy Marcus 8 folks. Maybe she can teach them a thing or two, too.
She
I
does
think
have-
she will.
She does have natural talent and intelligence.
And they seem to recognize that. So
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, so, are you staying in town long, or?
well, at least
What's
overnight.
next? Yeah?
But we have some business elsewhere, and as vagabonds are wont to do, we will be moving on.
Ah,
There doesn't seem to be anything here that desperately needs our attention. So yeah, we'll probably be moving on.
well, yeah, I think here, I mean, given the robberies kind of come and gone, and I think right now it looks like the duchy is stalled out a little bit, at least this side of the river, and so now everyone's just kind of checking the sky for the storm clouds for when we might see some more Marcus 8 soldiers, coming in with their shields up rather than construction tools in their hands.
Well, I mean, it looks like that's all they're doing so far.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, I've no doubt, I've obviously talked to Elaine about this, right? She's I don't know if you remember her. She's the lady running the recruitment center build. Like, I mean, obviously, this makes sense to me. Marcus 8 would just as soon rather be able to come in and set up without needing to fight at all.
Mhm.
And to my thinking, I'm not sure that's the worst idea. I mean, I don't think we could successfully hold them off even if we did fight. That's just a way to get people hurt. But, I'm sure there's a few in town that are going to try to do something regardless.
Hmm.
Well,
Well, at least, at least, things are moving smoothly right now.
I have to admit, I've kind of come around on the Marcus 8 a little bit. Like I'm not necessarily thinking that they're, you know, like they're people just like we are here, but so there's going to be good ones and bad ones and all that. But I mean,
right.
just have
But,
to
I
say,
mean,
my own personal experience, they've treated me and my daughter right.
well, the question for the town is going to be, to me, whether having them around is more, it gives a benefit for compared to the cost.
Well, like
Because
here's the
there's
thing.
going to
It's
be
like,
a cost.
well, yeah, I mean, I guess it's hard to know what to think of the news coming out of Patchwood because on the one hand, you hear about all of these great new projects they've got planned that sound good, but on the other hand, it seems like everything's going wrong up there since. And I don't know that that's the Marcus 8's fault, but I know that it's been happening since they got there. They're having a blight in their crops. Whew. You kind of
Well, if
just
they
kind
get
of
a,
does some sort of bizarre genuflection. And it's like, and then they got their fortifications blown up, and like
Mhm.
they're having some troubles up there, and I don't know whose fault that is if it's not theirs.
well, that's where we're going next. So,
All right, well,
maybe we can get a little clearer picture when you're in the right place, because rumors always change. The further away you are, the
oh
more
well, yeah, no doubt. So like, if you get a better sense of it, and come on back here and let us know, that would be appreciated. I mean, because right now where we're at is kind of hearing things both ways. Where they got all these grand promises, but then they're also having to tighten their
Yeah.
own belts and deal with explosions in town. So
yeah.
I don't know what to
So
make of that.
yeah,
Well,
I'll tell you what.
expl-
If we are back
Clem,
through this way after visiting Patchwood, we will let you know what we see.
Clem, you were trying to say that?
Clem kind of cocks. If Turtle had an eyebrow, he would cock an eyebrow. And so now he actually kind of. It's more like he tilts his head a little bit and says, "Explosions? Have there been rumors of, I don't know, rebellion, or some dissonance in town that could be doing that?"
You have all heard pretty conclusive news that the Corvid conspiracy blew up. Yeah, there was. Remember, you met the cat who was in town looking for the suspect in Pinehorn. Yeah. So the news has gotten around that the Patchwood fortifications were blown up, and people are pretty sure it was the Corvid conspiracy that did it.
For once, it's not our fault.
Touche.
Mm.
Yet.
Well, you can't be blamed for that explosion unless
Yeah.
you eventually come up with a time travel move.
Well, giving Clem, who knows?
Giving Clem.
Listen, it was just two Molotov cocktails. Just two.
Yes, but you
Okay.
gave one to me.
And okay, technically there's been three, but I don't count that first fight. It was really quickly makeshift when we were attacked at the campsite. I also didn't expect it to catch the tree on fire. Not a very good throw.
So, you all want to come in for some lunch or something, or
I
Well,
don't think we want to impose our appetites on you. And besides, we've got some other stuff that we want to do here today, so.
yeah, we just wanted to see how things had gone after the competition.
well, I know that vagabonds get up to all sorts of business, but I have to just say I really appreciate the way you supported my daughter in that competition. You believed in her, and that means a lot to me.
We are happy to help.
And
Part
it
of
was a
what we
lot
do.
of fun.
It was.
Yeah. All right. So, what else? Or are you going to hit the road?
I don't have any further business
Unless
here.
Yeah,
If I
I don't have any further
if I have
business
no
either.
agenda.
All right. I was only thrown just a little bit because you were saying overnight at least. Uh,
Yeah.
but that's okay. So I think though that as you head north through town, heading in the direction of Patchwood, from closer up, it becomes clear that the recruitment station is actually much closer to being done than you initially realized, and you suspect that it would be complete probably by the time you reach Patchwood. It's only a few days away, probably.
Ah,
So while we're on our way and deep in the forest and uh, uh, quiet, one evening around the campfire,
Well,
Lance,
what before we get into that, I don't mean to cut you
Okay.
off, but just it is the question of we have whether you are traveling by the path from Sundell to Patchwood, or are you going to travel through the woods?
path, I think.
Well, the question.
Every time we go off the path, we come
We-
across a huge monster.
I mean, yeah.
I
mean,
don't think I have a good
okay,
argument against that.
well, okay. It was only a monster one time. The second time, it was just a very large denizen of the forest, i.e., a bear.
Right, a monster.
Well, I would consider them two different classes of monster.
But
Right.
still,
Okay,
Still
that's
monsters.
but
Every time we go off the path, it's a monster.
Let's go off the path. That's awesome.
No, no.
And
We
And-
are all
Pepper-
uninjured, well supplied. Everything is in really good shape. Why do we want to risk that when there's a perfectly good path that we can take? Why would we not take the path?
I mean, if we were looking for something like, say, an ancient ruin or something like that, then going off the path makes sense. But you're right. If we're going to Patchwood, and we are, then I think the path makes the obvious option.
It's like here
Oh,
we're
oh.
here. Our goal is there. There's a path in between. We would have to go out of our way to not be on the path.
Although at the rate where LAO sells some settlements, we might want to go after some ancient ruins because there'll be no denizens there to chase us out or tell us to move along.
theoretically,
Theoretically,
Well,
Theoretically.
obviously, because we're playing a game, there's a role involved, and problems could crop up in either place. But of course,
Right.
the problems that you would encounter are likely to be of a different character depending on where you are.
Lancelot is entirely going by the history of this group.
Well,
Yeah.
you
Other
know,
than
when
by
you're
any
traveling
knowledge
along
of
the
the game.
path from Windgap Refuge to Pinehorn, you ran into the Corvid caravan.
Right,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
not a monster, right? We were able to deal with that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
yeah, if it's other denizens or other faction members, there's a chance of communication.
Yeah, I don't, now watch this time we'll be going down the path and we'll come across an anaconda. So, I could be wrong, but nevertheless, I'm just,
Yes, on the path.
Okay. So traveling along the path, there's the relaxing pace, the average pace, travel safely, quickly, and under the radar, or urgently fast.
I think
I-
safely under the radar.
Okay. That
Yeah.
probably makes the most sense from a resource standpoint too, in the sense that right now you don't really have exhaustion you need to clear. So you can collectively mark one depletion, meaning just only one person needs to mark depletion, and then you get a +1 to the roll for that method. But then, of course, also Peppa's
Okay,
traveling.
before we go any farther,
Mhm.
Clem's sheet is showing 1 injury and 4 depletion. Is that accurate? Because if Clem is walking around with blood dripping, I want to
Yeah.
deal with that before we go any further.
No,
Yeah.
no. If we should have cleared everything up in the time we've had. The guy updated it last time.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it does show 1 injury and 4 depletion right now, but I think that we had.
Cleared all that up in the travel with on the boat and
Well, I think what we talked about during the travel last time is we discussed the injuries between Arbin and Nigel, respectively. I don't think we said anything about Clem, but it makes sense that you would have done that then. So you can clear that in exchange for, 1 more box of depletion, but also you could have those boxes of depletion for any of you, you took a bunch of payment and you could have done that shopping, paid value or coin in exchange for clearing those depletion boxes.
Yeah.
So yeah, just make sure you get it everything to where you want it to be before you're
yeah.
underway.
And Nigel will throw
No.
a depletion in for the travel.
Okay.
So at this point, I assume that there's at least 1 night spent
Yes.
along the trail.
Mhm.
Lancelot brings up, well, Lancelot, in the presence of everyone, Lancelot says to Arbin, "You've got history with the Marquessate.
I do.
So far, I haven't seen anything that tells us that they're that terrible. Why should we oppose the Marquessate? I mean, yes, ideally, denizens should be able to make choices for themselves, but one of the choices they can make is joining the Marquessate.
I have history with a officer in the Marquessate. That may not necessarily mean that I have issues with the Marquessate as a general thing, but that one particular officer and I have a past, and hopefully I will not run into her when we're in Patchwood. That would not be great. I mean,
With our luck, though.
at one point I really consider myself really as a fugitive from her wrath, but I think that ship has sailed, perhaps. I don't know.
Okay.
If we run into her and she points and says, arrest that bird, then obviously I am wrong in that regard. But as far as, so my natural reaction is to distrust the Marquessate, but on the other hand, we've run into a whole bunch of how can I put this in poetic terms? Worse options. The Duchy, the Corvid conspiracy. What the Riverfall Company wants to do to our friend Clem is not doesn't endear me to them either. So
Right. I am firmly opposed to forced marriages.
but
But
out of character, I just have to note that I have a -1 reputation with the Riverfall Company, the Duchy, and the Corvid conspiracy. My Marcus is actually a 0. Which is
so
just
at this
weird.
point, they have less of a problem with you than everybody else.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think your past experience with the the Marcasate, like however it might shape your perception, was more personal in nature
Yeah.
than
That
Okay.
the general
than
anti-faction.
faction-wide. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as long as the Marcasate isn't marching into Sundell, right?
Right.
I'm kind of inclined not to make trouble for them. And here's what I'm going after.
Yep. Yep.
Now, we don't have any evidence for this because they were very careful about it, but we could just tell the target of our assassination thing, oh, by the way, we were sent to kill you and we've decided not to. and thank you very much. And just look around in the town and see what there is for vagabonds to do to help things, because we have kind of this problem with a lack. I was okay.
We have
I
this
was
problem with
expecting
authority.
well, just enemies abound, man. I expected to go into Sundell and get something of a hero's welcome, right? Because we set out to save them from this dire threat, and partly on purpose and partly by chance, we did. And the fact that they, partly because of things we did and partly because of things we didn't do, were not really as well thought of as I had hoped there.
We got more of the bums rush. And they thank you very much.
Yeah.
Now move along.
Right, which I mean, that's kind of a vagabond thing. I'm not
But
complaining
even
about that.
so,
But even by those standards, I think I'm a little dissatisfied, and I'm like, what use is it to, be making trouble with the Marcasate and making yet another enemy? Because you know that we're not going to get away from this without getting made.
Mhm.
I mean, if it was Nigel, I love you, but there just aren't that many capybaras in the woods. So between you and Clem Shell, we might as well just be holding a
Well-
flag up that says who we are.
And Arbin, a falcon walking around in Erie Dynasty armor.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not exactly inconspicuous
Yeah.
either.
We're not inconspicuous, and so we're gonna make, if we do stuff like this, we're gonna make enemies, and I think it compromises my principles a little, but we also have to consider just survival.
Mhm.
If Sundell is the only place that isn't dominated by one of our enemies, and even they don't like us, then there's nowhere safe for us to hole up if we need to. And I'm looking at this mission to go assassinate this guy, who, to be honest, here's what I'm worried about. We're going to go in there and find out that he's a brilliant administrator who's doing well for the town, who's beloved by everyone he comes across. And then, we're going to kill him. I mean, that would be our luck, right? That would be
Right.
our
That would
luck.
be our luck. We would make things worse for
Right. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm all for going there and finding out what the situation is. And who knows, we may discover, oh yeah, this is a guy who needs killing. I mean, that's entirely possible. And in which case, hey, 2 birds, 1 stone, I'm all for it. Well,
I look at Pepper when he says 2 birds.
Yeah.
2 flies, 1 stone. And I'm all for it. So we're still going there, right? We're still going to find out what's going on.
Yeah, let us
But-
gather intelligence
but-
before we
but-
kill anybody.
Arbin,
Yeah.
what's wrong with the Marcasate? Like,
As the Marcus as a concept,
yeah, I
well,
mean,
the
we
thing-
know that Duchy is an officious, overcomplicated, bureaucratic nightmare of a place, right?
Yes.
We've been there, we've seen it. They're they're just and they're just plain just not nice people,
Mhm.
and plus they come from underground, and I mean, really, you can't trust anybody who comes from underground. if you
Now,
ask me.
now I think you're shading to a bit of prejudice there.
Well, okay, all right, maybe
I'm gonna
so,
call you
but
out on that one. This just because it's
okay.
from the underground
I
doesn't mean
I
that
I, I
they're
will
terrible
say I
people.
have never met an earthworm I didn't like. But that being said, I don't have anything against the Marcusate, and well, I mean, what do the
So,
rest of y'all think?
if I don't want to, I love this conversation, but I will just say that there would be rumors that all of you would at least have heard around about the Marcusate that
Right.
I can kind of share again if people need a reminder.
Yes,
Uh,
please.
Okay, so the fears about the Marcusate, like for the people who don't want them around, the worries, the warnings, right? The people who don't want them to come, what they say about the Marcusate is that they're very big on productivity and efficiency to the expense of pretty much anything else. That like, hey, isn't it great for the town that they're going to come in and build a new sawmill, but they don't really care that they're going to use the sawmill to cut down all the old growth forest around your town, because that's the whole idea, right? They're going to come in and say, oh, here's all of these fancy new techniques that you can use to improve your farming, and you are definitely going to use them, and then we are going to purchase your crops at a discount, and that sort of thing, right? It's like it's like a machine. Like, they're very big about having the machine run smoothly, and that's great if you are a critical part of that machine, and maybe less great if you're
A
caught between
cog.
the gears.
So there are different sort of lawful evil than the duchy.
Well,
The duchy is all
not so, but like,
okay. Lawful
that's
evil
the
is the
version
prejudice.
told by the people who don't
don't.
like them, right?
Yeah.
That's the concern, right? But again, like any of these factions, you know, and the other thing I think that is probably worth keeping in mind is, at least in your encounters with them to date, you are meeting them on their back foot. Things have not been going well for them
Mhm.
lately, and they're trying to get what they can. So right now, you're seeing them offer the carrot. It does not mean they don't have a stick.
Okay.
Okay.
But
And so I,
that said, a lot of the other things you're saying are also not wrong, right? Like, I mean, those are, you can trust your eyes and ears. The things that you've seen and heard, those are
Mhm.
true also.
Yeah.
But those are the things that, when people are worried about it, that's what they're worried about.
Thank you.
so I mean,
Well,
okay.
we're-
So what I mean, let me tell me what you think. I mean, what all of you guys think?
Yep.
Well,
I
perhaps,
think-
if we get into a position to, provide advice, advise them, well, to use the, you know, carrot more than the stick. People respond to, uh, instead of saying, we will, they will buy, they must buy all the food at the discounted price, say, sell to locals, sell to them, and not to their enemies. You direct their efforts instead of try to stop them.
I think on a more personal to us note, um, on the way to the riverbank, we ran into Rhodia, and she asked me what Pruitt had done that pissed me so off that said he needed killing. and I had nothing. So probably even if we did assassinate this guy, it's not going to do us a lick of good with the Corvid conspiracy.
Hmm.
So there's that.
I mean,
I'm sure we will never be clean in her eyes.
Well, I don't know that we want to be,
True.
but anyway. No, that's just I was thinking about that a little bit recently with what happened to Rhodia and what you told me about the conversation with the conspiracy leaders. And I'm thinking that deal is probably off. Even if they haven't told us that the deal is probably off. Because
I mean, we could say, if we come across this, that who was the boss that we talked to?
Key.
He.
Fee?
Key.
Key.
But Q-U-A-Y key.
Right. So Key told us that the Corvus conspiracy would be off our tail if we took on this mission.
Right.
But then a bunch of Corvids attacked us. So as far as I'm concerned, we could say, I mean, talk to Rhodia, but she broke the agreement there.
First.
She broke it first.
we don't even know that they were acting on the Corvid conspiracy.
Right,
people.
but she's
But
a member of
in
their
good
group.
standard.
Yeah.
I mean, she was there when they said when
So-
this agreement was made.
Just I don't want to tell you how you interpret the events because they're not
Oh, I'm
necessarily clear.
definitely twisting things.
Oh, okay.
I'm twisting things on
Gotcha.
purpose
Gotcha.
to say, if they come after us for this, it's like you broke the deal. You attacked us after we'd made this deal. Of course, we're not going to follow through.
Well,
What do
depending
you
on
expect?
how much of a rules lawyer they are, as some might say,
I mean, they're gonna be mad either way.
Well,
Well,
also the Corvid conspiracy are very much more like guidelines people.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
Um,
So
what
You know,
is her
so-
name?
clearly, Key, you can't keep your people in line. So
Yeah, that'll go over great.
yeah. Oh no, we're in trouble with it anyways. I'm not saying this is going to get us out of trouble. I'm saying this is a way to
Yeah.
to spin
Get
it
us all
elsewhere.
killed.
I
Technically,
think the universe's guidance here would be to not end up having to have that conversation at all.
Oh yeah. But what I'm
Technically-
saying is, do we really want to make an enemy of the Marcusate as well,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
if we can avoid it? Now, like I
there is
said, if we get
there is
there,
a technicality I must point out.
mhm.
Rhodia did not attack us. It was the fever and
She was
Yeah.
instrumental in the attack.
She set them. She basically told them, "Oh, here's where you find Clem." So I mean, she guided. She may not have thrown the rock, but she guided the hand that threw the rock.
that is true. But
I
I
mean,
do
she
believe
could
the
say-
ones that actually attacked were river folk.
She did not draw a blade or a weapon against us, but she certainly pushed them and told them where we were and
Yeah.
got them to attack us. So
Her weapon of choice was people, not necessarily a handheld blade, but it
Exactly.
was still a weapon nonetheless.
Yeah. So but in any case, like you said, it's not going to matter in the long run with them. It's not going to change their minds about this. They're not going to say, "Oh, yes, our bad. Sorry." No, that's not going to work. But in the broader sense of reputations and things like that, we might, when we tell the story, there's a way to spin this. So here's what I'm trying to say for going into Patchwood is the town we're going to?
Yes.
Yes.
Going into Patchwood. is now they already know it was us who burned the papers in Sundell. So we're kind of already a known quantity with them. If we go in, have a look around, and kind of do what we did when we first arrived in Sundell, find out what's going on, see if there's people who need helping, help people, and just not pursue the whole assassination thing until we know more. I think that's our best choice of action.
I would like-
And I'd like to set up a signal, right? So that if we do decide it's time, we don't have to say to each other in a place where we might not have any privacy, okay, let's go kill the count.
Jenga.
So, what do you say? We have some kind of
I would like to
alternate
invest-
way of talking about this.
I would like to investigate the blight that that Murdy mentioned. And as to a code word, there was a game that I had back home called Jenga, where one of the things that would happen near the end is a stack of blocks would fall. I'd say that would be an appropriate term
Metaphor,
for knocking
sure.
things over.
Okay, all right.
So the code is basically let's play a game of Jenga
Or something like that, yeah.
or something like that.
All right. All right.
And you're going to teach us how to play this game, right?
If I can find or get some blocks made, I would happily teach you how to play it.
I feel like Jenga is exactly the sort of game that like would be relatively straightforward to make at this technology
Oh
level.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, well, it's
just
just, you know.
I'm surprised we don't find clay Jenga sets from the Sumerians, to be honest.
Well, me being someone who I don't think I've ever actually played Jenga, I'm not entirely sure how it's played, but the basic concept.
Yeah, it's straightforward.
I've had on Arbin's sheet for the longest time that he carries a Go set. Who does Arbin play Go with in this group, if anybody?
Nigel. I would
Yeah,
say
Nigel's
definitely.
probably a likely choice. Yeah.
Yeah, Nigel's probably the
Yeah.
Would Climb play Go?
I certainly Lancelot is not enough of a planner. He'd be terrible. At it. He'd be terrible at it.
I imagine Lancelot as the kind of person or a kind of denizen in this case who would initially feel like, oh, sure, yeah, I could figure out this game. No problem. Half of it's about reading your opponent anyway. I'll be great at that. And then after losing 3 times in a row, they're like, this is a stupid game.
No. He loses so bad that Arbin is like,
Yes, yeah.
no,
No, man.
this just isn't your game.
Now, poker, however, or some card game, you'd probably wipe the floor with all of us.
I imagine Nigel, he's not good at it, but he can hold his own, and sometimes I just place with some stuff that's so random that it's like, how do you defend? How do you predict?
Oh, why'd you stick a stone there? What the heck?
And Lancelot is like, there's no dice. There's no dice at all. What's the fun in that?
I'm trying to figure out if Peppa would play. And I
And
don't
Clement.
know that she would. I don't know that she would.
And Clem is just like, I mean, they're blocks, but I thought you're supposed. Like, why can't you connect them to build something? You're taking it apart. I understand that.
No, you're not
concept.
talking about Jenga anymore. We're talking
We're
about
back to
Go.
go. Up to Go now.
Oh, I'm definitely not playing that game. I'm not good at that. Strategically is not,
Well,
strategically is not my thing.
I think Clem would like Jenga because it's literally building it. It's taking from the bottom of a tower and putting on top, and just
Mhm.
you know you know
It's an
It
it's
was
an
feet.
engineering night.
nightmare
Who would
or
ri-
dream.
who would risk toppling over such a secure shape like a tower or column?
Well, that's the challenge, Clem. You have to figure out how to place it so that the tower does not topple, so that you can win.
I'm pretty sure
I think
Lancelot would set it up to easily fall
I think Peppa, rather than playing Go, tried to turn the Go board into checkers.
No,
And,
that's
and
not.
tried to play Go like it was checkers. I think that's probably why she does
No, the pieces
why
don't move
Arvin
over
runs
each
the
other.
other way when he pulls that out and she comes by. it was just too painful.
Oh, that's funny.
But why can't I jump?
It's not in the room.
King me!
No, no, no.
Listen, Peppa. Peppa is a bird, and they live in a four-dimensional world. So
Bird.
Oh, three-dimensional Go.
Oh God, that would hurt.
Anyway,
Anyway,
So, traveling along the path, are you ready to make the
Yes.
move?
Yes,
Yep.
and I think and Peppa gets a bonus, right?
Right. So
Yeah.
you're already getting a +1 for doing your safely, quickly, and under the radar. You already marked the depletion, I believe, Nigel.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Traveler Extraordinaire, you get to add an additional +1,
Yep.
Peppa. So you may roll 2d6 + 2.
Okay. 2d6 plus 2.
And then also, so never mind the plus. So you can also choose. Oh, never mind. Sorry, the +1 is never mind. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. No, I got an 11.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. So what that means then is that I clicked away for on a 10+. The trip is uninterrupted and quick. Further, you also, because of your Traveler Extraordinaire, you can ask 2 questions about the clearing. Once again, these would have to be things that you would remember about the place from the last time you were there.
Okay.
good place to stay.
Actually, I don't know that Peppa has ever been to Patchwood.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna skip the questions this time.
All right. So, you make your way. It's a couple of days on the path, but it is uneventful. And as you are making your way to
Making
the
your
town, oh, sorry, I didn't hear you.
Obscure Critical Role reference.
It's not even that obscure. I just didn't hear you until I realized what it must have been.
Actually, I could somebody or could Nigel have basically like borrowed a knife and I tried to whittle a Jenga set during the day?
That
Or-
seems like an awful lot of work for just.
Yeah. Well, so
Okay.
how about this? We can say you've gotten started on it, but it would probably, it would take a while to get that many pieces.
Okay.
Because, like whittling, wow, that would be a hard thing to do by hand whittling because, especially while you're walking along, because critical to that game is that all the pieces are exactly the same size.
it
Well,
might be one
actually,
of those things
they're not. They vary by very small amounts.
Or he's getting
Yeah.
he's getting some pieces into a into a closer shape.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that they
So
can be
we can
finished
say
off
you
with.
are working on it, and you can eventually, uh,
Right.
no, you can get there eventually. Okay. So one of the things that is notable as you start coming in to Patchwood is that you've been going uphill for a little while. I can just put us back on the map here just for a moment. Uh, you've been going uphill because there is just sort of an elevation change. Patchwood is kind of up on cliffs compared to the river, which is part of the reason that it doesn't have docks there.
Oh, so this is bluff country.
Uh, yeah, although Patchwood is a little way, it's not like right on the cliff. It
Okay.
just means that you've been traveling uphill a bit to reach it. And as you have gotten close, you notice that part of what gave, I think Arbin, I think you actually know this a little bit because Patchwood is actually in territory that was for a time loosely occupied by the Erie dynasties a long time
Okay.
ago.
A long time ago.
A long time ago. But that's actually how it got its name, is because there's an area in the clearing where rather than being one big clearing, it is actually a little bit patchy. Like there's a big clearing that has these little sort of clumps of trees here and there, right in the middle of the clearing, and so it was called Patchwood because of its sort of patchy character, especially when viewed from above. And so there are, as far as you know, probably some old Erie Dynasty structures there, but it hasn't been part of the actual Erie Dynasty conversation for generations. But so certainly you notice as you're approaching that you're starting to see those patches like in the tree line ahead where there's just areas where you're starting to see chimney smoke, but then there's like gaps in the trees, and you come into town, and it definitely is the sort of place where you can't really see all of the town at once because it has, in some ways, they're almost like parks. It has in the middle of town, there's 2 or 3 places where there's a bunch, like a little tiny miniature forest with full-size trees, but just only 60, 70 feet across, little clumps of forest that are sort of in the middle of town. And you can see up in the tops of those trees are, old, not well maintained Erie Dynasty buildings.
Those would interest me to go see if we have time, just because, the history and whatnot.
And then a lot of the rest of the town is a lot of what you would expect, in terms of this area of the woodland. It is a majority mouse town.
Mousetown. Okay.
Yeah, and they have, lots of activity here and there. There are you pass some farmland as you're coming up, but one of the things that you see in one of the fields that you're passing by is a controlled burn, where they are clearly trying to create like a gap between part of the crops in one area that are being burned and then the rest. And you pass by some of that. Would you have investigated that closer, or are you just moving past?
Yes.
Well, yeah, the blight was one of the things we wanted to learn more about. So
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I think are you approaching the people who are working, or are you gonna take like a look at some other area of it first?
Fair, take a look at Nigel would take a look at the plants first.
Okay. So I think in the area that they seem to be trying to, protect, the crops look more or less normal. They are crops that wouldn't be due for harvest for a few months still, but they seem okay. But then you pass by a scorched section where they have clearly burned some of the of the crop, and you see here and there in the part of the field that has been burned, you see here and there like a leaf here, a stem there that was, just didn't get completely consumed. And you can see that the leaves definitely have like yellowish brown spots on them. And it's clear, looking at it a little bit more carefully, that what they seem to be trying to do is burning the infected
see.
ones
Right.
in order to try to protect the ones that have not yet been infected. And so as you're
Right.
passing by the path, you see them doing burning a little way away,
Yeah.
but you pass by one of these burned areas where you can inspect the leaves.
Hmm. That's interesting. Something to look into.
All right.
Not my area expertise, but maybe there's something that can be done. Maybe we can help, just like we helped with the with the um,
Red millet.
with the red millet.
Yeah, yeah. But that was like pretty straightforward, but
Well,
yeah.
if nothing else, we can try. You know, hopefully we won't make anything worse.
Well, yeah, let's get further into town and find maybe a tavern or something like that.
Or an inn or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
So as you're passing by, you do pass more farms, and you see that there's been already a substantial fraction of the fields that you pass that have been burned, probably a third or more. That's already burned, and so
If this is a Marquisate town and they're having problems with the blight, that makes sense why they would want control of
Sundell.
Sundell. Because they need new places to grow crops, and Sundell doesn't have this blight yet. So that makes sense. If they're having this problem or issue,
I need to make.
they need more farmland.
If we identify the source of it, maybe need to make sure that we don't.
So we don't spread it.
Yes, we don't spread it.
No, yeah, we don't want to be a vector of transmission. That would really make us unwelcome in every clearing if we bring the blight along. with us.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
so as you get further
Um,
in, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Does this look like it's affecting many different kinds of crops, or is this like their corn crop and that's what they mainly grow here, but it's being affected?
Yeah, you see at least 3 different kinds of crops that all have burned portions.
Okay.
Would any of it happen to be red millet?
No, no.
Ah,
It would suck if red millet was immune,
Mm.
given its other properties.
Well, I mean, even red millet is still useful for animal feed. It's just
Yeah.
supposed to be only for animal feed.
Yeah, but still, it's
Mhm.
can't
all right.
use regular wheat.
Sure. So, one of the things, as you continue into town, you do notice that here and there you do see some Marquisate guardsmen, soldiers who seem to be at various posts and kind of watching, without a lot of activity, but just kind of keeping watch. Kind of not as many as you would have thought, honestly. You pass by what is clearly a sawmill under construction, but there doesn't really look like there's much work happening on it right now. It's like in progress, but not actively. Like you don't see crew actually in there working on it, but it's not complete. You also just see other, various bits and pieces of the town, and you do pass what looks like it was, a small but formidable looking fort, except for the fact that the main gates and facade of it are crumbled, and you see sort of
Big old crater.
yeah, yeah, and you see that has been sort of like they've got sort of some guards up and some like they've got some ropes tying, blocking it off for, to keep people from coming to the damaged part of it. And you can see that there's been some clearing of debris, and there are some people working on it a little bit, but there's not a lot of people in it right now, and it does still very much look like it got blown up.
Hmm.
So, what are you looking for first? Like an inn or a tavern?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay,
We could serve, yeah, place to rest our heads near the base of operations.
sure,
A
sure.
postal place to find information.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
think this place is big enough that there's probably a couple. Would you you're just looking for, run of the mill, nothing special?
Uh,
Let's say there's one that is a little bit more on the outskirts of town and one that's a little bit more central.
let's go to the one on the outskirts.
Hmm.
Easy getaways. Easier
Something
getaways.
that's hopefully, no extra parasites.
Sure. Yeah, so you find one that is just called the Roadhouse.
Okay.
And you are, it looks like it's a well maintained enough place that doesn't have a lot of, like, it's worn. It looks like it's been there for a while, but it's being kept up. And it seems like the sort of place where you can probably get a meal and a room.
Let's do that thing.
Yes.
So who runs the roadhouse?
All right. You've got a portly, cheerful-looking mouse named Helma. Or no, not Helma. Sorry, I had that one already. Luciana. And I think as you come in, there is a little bit of a, like, the the quick but carefully controlled expression of someone who operates a business like this, which is checking you out, has opinions, but smiles and says, "Welcome to the Roadhouse. What can I do for you?"
And Nigel looks around to see if there's any familiar face,
Mm-hmm. Uh,
specifically James.
yes.
Look
Alas, you do not see
Okay.
a chinchilla present here.
Okay.
Looking for accommodations, good mouse.
Well, that's something we have available. If you're looking to stay for a while, are you looking for just a night or two, or perhaps a bit longer?
I
Look out
think-
companions, a couple of nights to
To
start.
start with. Yeah.
Okay, well, we do offer discounts by the week, but however you want to do it, that's just fine. How many rooms will you need?
How many rooms do we generally get these days?
We've
generally
been
crank,
taking
right?
one room and just piling
Yeah,
in.
we've been piling in.
Yeah.
Would there be one room that could fit us all?
Well, yeah, if you don't mind squeezing a bit. I mean, I suppose you could do that, although I'd imagine you'd be more comfortable in two.
Well, considering recent events, let's take 2 rooms.
Yes, 2 rooms.
All right, all right. So I think trying to find a place where it conveniently offered suggested prices for this sort of thing. You know what? Let's just say that 2 rooms for 2 nights will be 3 value.
Okay, I'll pay one of those out of my coins.
I'll toss in one.
And I'll toss in the last one.
Okay, so you are shown to homey rooms. The nothing is fancy. Everything looks like it's probably, these beds have been slept in hundreds of times before, but there are,
Hey, there's
yeah,
beds.
yes, exactly.
Hey,
Yeah, I was
there's
just gonna
beds.
say
Hey,
it's kind of
beds.
like, it's nothing to turn your nose up at, given for people who have been sleeping on on bedrolls and in tents and so on for
They've
weeks.
And in warehouses and stables and
Yeah,
They've been slept on 100 times before, but they've been washed
yeah,
between.
yeah. So this is
Some of them.
exactly the sort of place that you would gather caters to.
Yeah.
Someone's been
sort.
traveling. They just want to lay their head down on a pillow and then maybe have some stew.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right.
So
They know their clientele.
So I think it's
So,
probably
let
early
me-
afternoon right now.
Okay, I was about to ask. And as a result, kind of the social evening hasn't really gotten started yet. People are probably will be coming around from their labors more towards sundown. And so,
we have some time to go and ask around about
mhm.
the events.
About things that are going on. So I'm actually going to approach Luciana and say, now, I wouldn't want to displace anybody if your tavern already had a musician on staff, but I've been known to sing for my supper from time to, well, I say that with, that's actually not true. I'm not going to lie to you. I've never done it before in my life, but I would like to give it a try to entertain your clientele for perhaps passing the hat.
I think that's fair. I think that they'll let you know if they want you to stop.
That is entirely fair. So what time does things start to liven up around here? About sundown?
Well, yeah, I think that once we start putting out dinner around 5 or thereabouts, and people come in
Okay.
for a meal, and some of them will stay for the evening, and others are just here for the meal. So I guess up
Okay.
to you.
All right. So I guess I'll see you then. And I'll see if there's a stool I can sit next to the fireplace in the traditional spot where a bard would do.
Hmm.
And and I'll go back to the rest of our group and okay, I'm gonna kind of handle things here socially. Hopefully they'll like my music. We'll see. I mean, I have been practicing.
We've
You
noticed.
have improved a lot.
And I think I'm ready to make my debut, as it were. Uh, and
Don't
Break a leg.
and
And,
don't forget to tune the banjo.
oh, of course. Oh yes. I that's a requirement. So yeah, I'm going to hang out at the Roadhouse and listen to gossip and play my banjo and hopefully not get thrown out for I'm going to and I'm not going to play like any political songs. I'm going to play
Thank you, babe.
the kind of folk songs that everybody's
just like-
already heard 100 times. People can sing along, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Just the songs that people know. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sure. What else is anybody else getting up to anything in the meantime?
Nigel will go up to Luciana say, I noticed some of the crops on the way in had some issues.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that the blight I've heard about?
Well, I mean, I don't know what you've heard about, but certainly we're having. Yeah, I mean, it's not good. I'm kind of makes me a little glad at least that I'm not in the farming business personally, but at the same time, I mean, it's going to affect everybody's heart. Like they're trying to do what they can, but it's just like it seems like every time they try to you know corral it off, it breaks through and infects more, and
Hmm.
it's been a
Is there
real
a person
problem.
that is in charge of this? I would like to see if I could lend any assistance.
Ah, well, I mean, I guess I'm not sure. I suppose, I mean, I guess the, I guess the Marcus 8 Count is like technically in charge, but I don't know if he's actually, the one doing anything, right? I mean, I'm sure he has someone working for him, but I'm afraid I don't know who that is.
Well, I can. Where would I find them in order if I wish to ask?
Well, gosh, here's the problem. Ever since, the fortifications kind of got attacked, they've been kind of a little cagey about where they lay their heads at night. I don't know if that makes sense. I mean, you can find. I'm just saying, right now it's not the easiest time of day to do it. They have like office hours, they call it, where you can down at the old town hall, you can make petitions and requests and stuff like that.
Okay, I will. I will see if I can find someone.
I mean, short of that, I would just say you go and find a farmer.
True. Thank you.
Hey, Peppa, you busy?
No, what's on your mind?
We are the members of the N team who have three-dimensional capability. I think it would behoove us to take advantage of that three-dimensional capability to scout the town from the air.
Trust Arbin to say, hey, want to go for a fly and make it into a paragraph.
Well, that's why we love Arbin. I would be absolutely delighted to reconnoiter the situation from above with you.
So Arbin wants to see this place from the sky for a number of reasons. I mean, yes, A, the pleasure of flight, but B, also tactical situations, reconnaissance, etc.
Yes. Yes, let us go reconnoiter.
If you mention going for a fly to Nigel, Nigel will probably say, if you can make a note of if you can get an idea of what fields have been affected by the blight, that would be great.
The blight
Well-
will be one of the things we take a look at.
Yeah, we'll see if there's a pattern.
All right. So one of the things that I know that you can also do, Nigel, is check your books, right? You have your
Yes.
value of a book. I don't
Yeah.
know if you were saving that until after you had talked to someone some more or
I've-
what, but
That's what I was figuring. Get some information and then check my books.
okay. All right. So what about what's Clem getting up to?
Honestly, he's still jiggering around with his shell, but he's got it almost complete.
Okay.
But also, he does want to hurry and finish it because he's interested in one. He saw the sawmill not complete. He's also seen with the blight. Both of those things seem like they are actually probably associated because if things are dying, you can't cut bad wood, or you can't use bad wood. So
I think
he's
it's
gonna
more
wanna-
prosaic than that. I think that their attention is diverted. And the people who
True.
would be building and repairing are dealing with the blight.
And also the exploded fortifications.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yes,
mean, they're not working on that either.
Yeah, so he's interested in that. So he'll finish that up, and if once folks have finished what they're doing, who'd like to go look at least or find someone in charge or who knows about what's going on with the blight, maybe the local farmers
Mhm.
or any people of any scholars who may be investigating what could be causing
Well,
the
certainly that sounds like it's in alignment with what Nigel is looking for. So perhaps would you want to divide and conquer there, or I'll. I see. I just did it. I want to just brief tangent here with something that drove me crazy recently. I won't even get into where it was, but someone was suggesting in a TV show. It's like what the plan was is let's split up. You go that way, I'll go that way, and we'll divide and conquer. And I'm like, that's not what divide and conquer means. And then I just did it.
You planted the seed in your own head.
I did. Anyway. So the point being, would you want to each pursue separate investigations, perhaps to cover more ground, or would you go together?
Actually, that sounds separating to cover more ground sounds like a good plan. So, take it from there.
I
I'll
am
take it.
happy to accommodate, even though it's twice as much work for me. That's fine. I'm teasing.
Well, then-
It's fine.
and
It's
then you
totally
can-
okay. I'm kidding.
Then you can collaborate.
So, in any case, so did you say what you were going to do in the meantime, Lancelot, or you're going to wait? Do that in the evening?
If we're like 2 or 3 in the afternoon,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm just going to I'm gonna hang out at the Roadhouse
Mhm.
because I mean there could be people coming in early,
Sure.
and be there, kind of tuning the banjo, and maybe I'll have a conversation with Luciana about like if there are any favorite songs, do people
Mhm.
like around here, that kind of thing, and I'm sure she's busy preparing, but hopefully I can, and you know what? I think I might even like try and ingratiate myself by seeing if I can help out,
Okay.
see if there's any chores she needs doing. And basically just try to get on her good side.
Sure.
And if you want, I can roll on the pleasant facade move.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I think I was assuming I was just going to do a trust fate to see whether people come in or not. But so when you're saying pleasant facade,
Suck up to or butter up an
Yeah.
unsuspecting NPC.
I mean, sure, yeah, you can go ahead and do that.
Okay.
I don't know what you're gonna necessarily want to spend that hold on, but I guess it doesn't hurt to have it.
Never hurts to have them. Yeah, I tend to try to get one anywhere I go just to have somebody who's on my side.
I think
Uh,
I think in general, probably the intent of the move is not necessarily something that you do long time in advance and then you just hold on to it like tokens in your pocket. You know what I mean?
oh, okay. All right.
But
Well-
that's okay. It's not it's I don't object to using it that way because it's just what we're establishing is that you've formed a connection with them in a way that will allow you to
Yeah.
draw their
Yeah.
attention later. But it's just one of those things where I think the image in the writer's heads is more along the lines of you literally having that conversation with them while something's happening in the background. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Well, I mean, anyways, I rolled a
worries.
12, so
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Yeah. So she is just charmed as all heck by you.
so so yeah. So that's how I'm spending the afternoon.
Okay. Yeah. We'll maybe come back and do a little bit more of that conversation in a moment. But let's start with Arbin and Peppa doing
I
some
just had some-
aerial
Had
reconnaissance.
an image
here.
about what the logic behind Lancelot helping out, saying, "Well, if I get run out from bad singing, at least I did some chores to help cover costs."
Well, you all. I mean, costs is nothing. You already
Yeah.
paid for the rooms.
I
You're
know.
just
Yeah.
hoping for
Yeah.
tips.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in any case, so Arbin and Peppa, what is the like? I would imagine you're kind of gonna look all around, but what's the order of operations here?
Well, Arbin once again using a paragraph where sentence will do wants to do a spiraling out search pattern starting with the end and spiraling in towards the center of town and then back around again in a reverse pattern covering the area twice basically spiral in spiral out. That's his proposal.
Okay. Do you go along with that, Peppa?
I
Are you just
Pepper
following
probably
Arbin?
wants something a little more
Random.
spontaneous. What's your expression, Lee? Like you guys suggested I eat a baby or something.
No, it's like
Uh,
I mean, you're the military guy. You know what you're doing. I'll follow along. Um, I reserve the right to
break formation.
fancy flying if I feel like it.
Yeah, this is not a military campaign, so I can't exactly reprimand you for fancy flying. So yeah, so we're going since we're on the outskirts of town, yeah, I'm going to spiral into the center and then spiral back out again.
Yeah.
Looking at
So
crops, buildings, the ruined fort, the
Sure.
works.
So it's worth noting that the entire fort is not destroyed. However, the big front gate, which is the part that's designed to allow people to go in and then lock the door behind them, that's the part that's broken, which is kind of a fundamental part for the functioning of a fort.
Of a fort, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like 3 walls is insufficient.
Yeah, 3 walls does not make a fort. No.
But so it's basically that's the part that is damaged in a way that is not trivial to repair, and so they're working on that. But again, I think one of the things that you might be a little bit surprised by is just that what guards and soldiers you see from the Marquisate are spread thin a little bit more than you might have guessed. Like there's lots of places where, from your military standpoint, you would probably say this town is not especially well defended right now. They have
No,
too few people on the streets.
Okay, that's what I was saying. Is it a matter of their spread wrong, or is it just a matter of they just
It's
don't have
not
the numbers?
tactical. It's that they've got they're trying to do too many things with too few people.
Now we didn't hear anything about large number of casualties from this explosion.
No.
Correct. Okay.
Well,
so-
you haven't really heard any details specifically
Okay.
about that, but just based on looking at it, it doesn't look like this is something that would kill people blocks away. It looks like it would depend a lot on how many people were right there when it happened.
Okay. But they're definitely they have a manpower shortage problem.
Well, so here's the thing. What you already know from just the various gossip that you've heard
Mm-hmm.
is just that they're kind of having a hard time of it right now. Like a lot of their, you heard about that there was a mine collapse in one of their other clearings. There's the blight here. There's the damaged fortifications. And then, they've also got people, they sent a detachment of soldiers down to help with the recruiting center in Sundell.
Mhm.
And you get the feeling that it's just that the idea of saying, okay, you do this and then it's done, and then you can take those resources and put them on the next thing, and then you do that until it's done. It stops working so well when you keep having big setbacks like that.
Mhm.
And so they are currently a little bit understaffed because they're having to keep devoting resources to fixing all of these other things.
Their game of their Crusader Kings 3 game is not really going well. At the moment.
Yeah, and I'll just say, in the meta, their Marquesate's been rolling bad on their turn. So it's things are, they've got people here. Like it's, they're on the streets in a way that they were not in Sundell, right?
Right.
But it's again, it's just one of those things where your military eye looks at the people they have outside what is obviously the town hall, and you're saying I would have 3 times that many people if they thought that there was any likelihood of a problem.
Now this might require a roll or something, but does it look to me that like if say, not that I want this because that'd be terrible. Like the Duchy decided to come up and invade here, that the Marcus would have real problems pushing them out.
You don't need a roll that, well, especially given that the duchy's tactics, especially when they have a tunnel that they can complete, is that basically nobody knows the tunnel is there until all of a sudden there's an opening and moles are just pouring out of it by the dozens. And so that is, and like, they tend to just, when they invade big, they come in with lots of numbers. And if that tactic were used here right now today, Marcus 8 would be overrun.
Okay. That's not good.
Now, it's part of the reason, perhaps, that they built a fortress. And then
Well,
it got blown up. So,
Then it got blown up. It's also good that we did what we did in Iron Vein, because the Duchy's on the back foot and may not have the resources to play invade here at the same time. They got other fish to fry.
Yeah.
So we may have inadvertently helped this clearing without them ever knowing it.
well, I mean, to be sure, you knew all along that by hurting the duchy, indirectly, you're helping the Marcus 8,
Marcus 8,
just
but-
in the enemy of my enemy is a friend sort of way.
Right, but didn't realize the Marcus was on the back foot here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that just makes it more poignant. Okay.
Mhm. So you see that you get a sense of the layout of the town, which again it's a strange layout of the town, which makes sense to you from the perspective of coming from the Erie dynasties, because what it looks like here, and you suspect this to be the case, is that the Erie dynasty generations ago moved in, liked these little clumps of trees, and they built houses in them, and then the rest of the town grew out from around that. But from a central civic planning standpoint for the people who live on the ground, these clumps of trees are in inconvenient places.
This is a bird oriented clearing that's now
with-
inhabited by mice and cats.
Yeah, you're kind of not allowed to you can't have just a main street that runs the length of the town, because it keeps having to go around these big blobs of trees.
Mhm.
So it
And for some
looks like-
reason, they're not cutting them down.
well,
Oh, not yet.
so that is perhaps something that you may investigate more about. I think that perhaps, you know what, we'll go ahead and say that part of what you see is that there is what looks like some kind of minor conflict happening near one of those, where you have at least one tree in one of these sections has been cut down, but there are some people, like there's some mice standing in amongst the rest of the trees, and some cats alongside looking annoyed. And I mean, that's what you would see flying over at a distance.
I'll slow to let Pepper catch up. It's like something to investigate tomorrow, perhaps. There's a conflict here.
But one of the things that you also notice as you pass by these clumps of trees is that there are, in fact, Erie Dynasty era houses in there. However, they have not been kept up.
Oh,
They-
so they don't look like, or okay, by not kept, are they? Or
They're
they're
falling apart.
Does it look like there's any squatters in there, or they're just like sitting in the trees unused?
Yeah, I think as you're flying around and about, you do at one point see a kind of scruffy looking robin come out of one of them. But I would also say that, like, here's a question for Arbin.
Mhm.
Do you hold in your heart a fondness for Erie Dynasty architecture?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, when I mean, that is his home. That
Sure.
is what he thinks. That's
I-
his.
These
ethos,
are
yeah.
heartbreaking to look at.
So it's like,
Basically,
look,
nobody has been taking care of these houses. They look terrible. They look, frankly, unsafe for habitation.
ah. I mean, I can see why, but still, because they're not mostly not birds out around here, but still, like
Yeah.
the heartbreak, like you're
Mhm.
letting these beautiful
I mean,
houses go to ruin.
Just based
Why?
on typical Erie Dynasty stuff, you would guess that technically, according to some contractor or other somewhere, these probably still technically belong to some house or other. And they've just
Almost
not
cer-
been here in 80 years.
Almost certainly. I mean, because Empire claims never die, so
Right, yeah.
just
So
it's not
according
enforced.
to them, they have a piece of paper that says it belongs to them, but, good luck trying to enforce that.
Yeah.
Um, in any case, so you get the sense that probably there are some squatters in there, but by and large, they have not been maintained and are frankly probably a public safety hazard.
It's like taking a first century Roman, sticking them in 6th century Roman and see the ruins and make them cry. It's what has happened to their beautiful city.
I wonder if instead of cutting down the trees to rebuild the fort, maybe they wouldn't like to take some of these buildings down and use the
Yes.
resources.
It would be
That-
better. It'd be better for them to be taken down than to
Well,
let them.
like you're not
older.
you're not recovering the wood from these
No,
buildings.
Oh, okay.
They're not in that state. They're half rotten
Okay.
and worn away.
Okay.
There's nothing there worth having.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not retiring to one of these houses because there's just nothing to
Mhm.
live in.
Yeah.
Mm.
Although a house like this and a tree would be a perfect place for me to retire to. This would be bliss if it wasn't so wrecked and destroyed. And look at that lovely gable there that used to be so perfect angle, and now it's just sagging like a
Well,
lump.
we'll
Oh.
go visit. We'll go
Yeah.
visit my home, and you can see what my family's built. It's definitely not this
Like
pretty.
the best of these would barely qualify as a fixer upper. They range from there to like this thing is about to fall down all by itself.
Yeah.
But in any case, so you see
That's-
some of the
And that's probably why nobody is like living underneath them. It's
Yeah, because
stuff
it's
keeps
good.
falling down on them.
One day the whole house will.
Someone with a big hammer hit the bottom of the tree and tree vibrates and
Don't give Clem ideas.
So, yeah, and as you're sort of flying around, like I said, you've kind of gotten a sense of, the fortress. You have a sense of the layout of the town, like where the town hall is now. You spotted a blacksmith. You spotted like a general store.
Yep.
You also, as you're sort of flying around, you're seeing more of the the farmland fields around, and it is in fact all around the town, like in all directions. All of the fields have at least some significant percentage of them that have already been burned, and you see like people in the fields working on that.
It's almost like a besieging army around the town. Or maybe I'm just too in a military mind now.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly not like you're not seeing a pattern in the way that like in the shape of the burn. It's not like coming from the outside or something.
Mhm.
It's like scattered here and there. There's places where there's a big burned patch in the middle of a field. It's not only always coming from the same direction or anything
Yeah.
like that.
And it is impacting more than one plant group. I mean, it's not just taking out their corn or their wheat.
I mean,
it's-
you're hard pressed to
Okay.
find a single field that doesn't have some part of it that's
Yeah.
affected.
Yeah.
okay, so that'll be useful information for
Nigel,
Clem and
yeah.
Nigel.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that especially the way you described it, you're taking your time doing a thorough.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
search
Yeah,
here, so-
there's no reason not to.
Yeah.
All right, so while that's all happening, Clem and Nigel, you're each kind of going to do some investigation of your own. What approaches are you each taking?
Nigel is going to head towards the town hall, hoping to find someone, someone in the leadership to ask for, ask if he can help.
Okay.
And Clem is going to go look for the people who kind of work the fields
Mhm.
because he wants to try to find out how long this has been going on, when it started, if it was a sudden thing or was
Mhm.
a slow process, and also maybe find out more about the surrounding areas like foliage, vegetation, because this could also be something that started there and just happened to spread to the town.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with Nigel going to the town hall. Um, as you are passing by, um, make a trust fate roll as you're headed on your way there.
Okay, trust fate, and I have
Roll plus luck.
+0, but that's a 10.
Okay, yeah. So I think that you are, able to. Uh, I think, in fact, not only are you not stopped or bothered in any way, but what you see is as you are approaching the front of the town hall, you see what looks like there's a cat in very fancy Marcus 8 style clothes, accompanied by three armed soldiers who seem to have just been returning to the town hall from somewhere.
Good sir.
Uh, yes, yes. May I help you?
Yes, I noticed I'm just arrived in town. My name is Nigel, and I noticed the blight, and I was wondering if there was any way I could help.
So how about a meet someone important roll?
Okay.
And so
Okay.
for you, that is, you are rolling your Marcus 8 reputation, which is a +0 for you.
Okay. That is a 7.
Okay. On a 7 to 9, you can pick one. You've heard stories, ask a question about them, and the GM will tell you what you've heard, or they've heard something in your favor, take +1 when you first try to play up your connection with them and their faction.
I think they've heard something in my favor.
Okay. Um, so yeah, uh, I think that this cat, who is a bit older, middle aged, got whiskers are a little bit. Uh, they've got some like wax in them to sort of make them stand out in kind of a dramatic way, and there's a little bit of silver fur around their ears, but they're dressed very fancy, and they look to you, and they listen to your question, and then they kind of give you a look up and down, and just say, "I don't suppose that you are the capybara that I heard about recently having adventures in Ironvein."
Uh, that
You
is
know
likely to
incidentally.
be me, yes. I am unaware of any other capybaras in the woodland.
Well, uh, perhaps you and I we can have a conversation. Would you like to come in? We can have a seat
Yes,
and discuss the blight.
that would be wonderful.
Okay. And so he nods to the guards that are kind of around there, and you're shown into a town hall which clearly like predated the Marcus 8 occupation. However, there have been Marcus 8 banners and a portrait of the Marquis that has been put up inside, and they move in, and you are kind of brought back out of the sort of main entry lobby into a sitting room, and it's got some moderately nice furniture that has been brought in here. It does not match like the rest of the building at all, but it's pretty nice, and and they start getting, he has an attendant who starts getting the like a fire made, and as you are sitting there, he says, may I offer you a glass of wine?
That would be wonderful.
Yes. So tell me, Nigel?
Nigel.
Nigel. I am Count Dumont. Uh, tell me, how it is you believe you can help with the blight?
Well, I have been studying things for quite a while, and I have had some success with researching, and I figure if nothing else, I might have an outside perspective others might not have. Yeah. I start pulling out books and you know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, various subjects like, you know, I tend to have a small library of my own on myself for reference.
And you might talk about how our instrumental role in the Red Millet
Oh, yeah.
situation.
Yes,
That's a little more relevant to what's going on.
Yeah.
A little bit.
and there was a series of mysterious poisonings in the town of Pinehorn, and they and I had some assistance in revealing that it was red millet that contaminated the flour supply. And
Yes, I have some reports of this that I have heard. This seems like quite a to do. It seems, in fact, that you and your comrades they tend to find that trouble accompanies them wherever they go. Yes.
sometimes, though, we hope trouble only comes to those who are deserving of it. And
Well,
I don't think the people of this clearing deserve trouble.
ah, nor do I. And it is true that there is plentiful trouble to be found. I'm trying to maintain the French accent and not the Marquisate accent, I mean, of course. But yeah, so trouble is plentiful in these times, regardless of the company you keep. However, I do hear other things too. So tell me, why should I trust you? And I'm gonna have you make a persuade an NPC move
Okay,
here.
and that's
But
charm?
you do have a +1 from your because they've heard something in your favor that meets someone.
Okay. And that's charm.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, 5.
5. Okay. Yeah. Uh. So I think that yeah. So how do you react in that question? Give so like to some extent, imagine that you're role playing the 5, right?
Yeah, like it's I understand that vagabonds and my group specifically have had a history of causing problems, but you know, in all you can look in all of the problems that it was uh, the good of the denizens was the source.
Hmm.
We desire for the common individual to have a life where they simply have to work and do and be honest to live.
Hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you see, I understand the poetry of what you say, but it seems also this is an old-fashioned way of life. The Marquisate here's to bring the woodland into the new future, and so my thinking is that you and your fellows have done some beneficial things that help us by harming the duchy. But I also hear things about Sundell and perhaps some things not in the Marquisate favor. I worry you and your friends are in town to. Perhaps you even think you're trying to help. But we are having all of our resources devoted to making Patchwood a better place and then the broader woodland. So, my request to you and your friends, don't get in the way.
Okay. I do believe that that one of my fellows is uh, coming at the issue of the blight from the perspective of speaking to farmers and finding out that.
So,
So,
I would encourage you to go find your friend and pass on what I have told you. Stay out of the way. The blight is a very technical, complicated, delicate problem, and it is our desire to stop it. And what we don't need is to have the farmers' heads be filled with uh, contradictory information. There's a lot of conspiracy already about this blight. What we don't need is competition in solving a problem that we are already working on. So, while I appreciate your offer, I must decline, and I would request that you and your friends not involve yourselves.
very well. I will pass this on. Though I do respect the autonomy of my fellows, and I cannot make any guarantees in their actions.
Well, it is just convenient for me then that we will make sure that you are watched while you are in town, just in case there's any confusion.
Hmm. Understood.
All right. In exchange for the turn that you have done for us in Ironvein, no further action needs to be taken so long as you do not provoke a response from us. Is this understood?
It is understood.
The Marquisate is here to improve Patchwood. We will bring this place into the future. We will show them what the Marquisate has to offer. And what we don't need is chaos. Don't make
Dun, dun, dun.
Patchwood more chaotic than it already is. Is that clear?
It is.
Very well then. I hope you have enjoyed your wine. I have work to do. Feel free to stay here until you finish your glass. I must be off. And I hope that we do not need to speak again. Not through any lack of charm in your case, but just because I expect that I will be too busy unless you have become a problem for me to solve. Very well. Au revoir.
And Nigel will just finish his wine, write a little bit in his book, start the entry on Patchwood. And then once that's done, he will make his way out.
All right. Yep. So you are definitely, escorted while you're in the building, and when you leave, there is, you see the guard that escorts you out of the building whisper to the other guard, and doesn't follow you any further, but they do watch you as you walk away.
Okay. Well, that's fun.
All right, Clem. So you're heading out to one of the fields.
Yes,
What are you
indeed.
looking
Is
for
that
in particular? Like what kind of you're trying to find someone
well,
who's doing an actual burn or
well, I'm assuming that some of the farms are bigger than others, and I would assume like probably the bigger farms are the ones
Mhm.
that kind of deal with both the cutting, but as well as any sort of crops and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to look for the biggest of those farms.
Okay.
And if I can, if there are burning, or if they're at least trying to remove some of the stuff from the blight, I'll find one of those or someone doing that as well, if it's at the same place.
Yeah, yeah. So I think if you find one of the larger operations, you do see that there's some folks over at one end of the fields where they've got a crew that is like digging sort of like a trench at a certain spot, like they're digging up the crops and making sort of like a break in the field, and they've got some torches and barrels of something that they're working with, looking like they're getting ready to burn another section.
Okay. Is there someone giving the orders, or kind of showing everybody where to go?
Sorry, just I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll
Say
say,
that again.
is there someone who's giving the orders, or kind of like the leader of the groups?
I mean, this looks like it's a crew sent out to do something. There's not like one person shouting orders.
Mm. Hmm. Then I'll go up to one of the ones who seems to not who's giving orders to one of the crews leading the ditch digging, like the trench, and I ask, is there a problem with the fuel?
Yeah, buddy. What do you think? We just burn our crops for no reason?
Well, I've only heard some rumors, and I'm not from here, so I was trying to get clarification on exactly what's wrong.
Well, I'll tell you what's wrong is the Dutchies poisoned our crops. That's what it is. And then, like, one of the other people next to him is just, shut up, man. You don't know that. Like, don't I?
Hmm. What makes you think the duchy did?
Well, just think, like, who would have to gain for ruining our crops, huh? Like, the Marquisate comes in and they start making all these big promises, but now they can't catch a break. Like, I mean, I wasn't sure I was on board, but like everything just seems going wrong for like since they got here, and I don't think they're doing it. I don't think they're causing the crops that they just acquired to get poisoned. I don't think they're blowing up their own fortress. So who's doing it? It's the Duchy, obviously. And one
Hmm.
of the other guys looks to you and just says, "He doesn't know what he's talking about, man. He's just like this comes out of nowhere. It's like this like this blight is bad, but like blights happen. It's not like a mystery."
Oh, indeed, they do. Although I won't say he's not completely unabsolved from his beliefs, but you would, I think you would be more accurate to say that this potentially could be something that has cycled through in the history of this area. Or there's also rumors of someone behind those explosions. If obviously the Marquisate acquired these crops, they might be behind it as well.
Well, like I mean, if I bet that it's just something that's been cycling through. Like my grandma has lived in this town her whole life, and I bet if there's been previous blights that she knows about it. But here's the thing: like we're doing what we can here. Like I don't see how it makes any sense that like the Dutchies got plenty going on already. What they're sneaking plant diseases across the river like that doesn't sound like their style to me.
No, it doesn't to me either, especially seeing as they are more of the hammer meets the nail type.
Well, and
come
then
in
so
with
the
a
other
lot
guy
of.
says, "Oh yeah, so I suppose the fortress just blew itself up then, huh?"
Well, the rumor mill has it that it might have been the Corbett conspiracy, but again, no one has any evidence to the contrary
So
or
one of the
for
other crew, who is a bird, says, "Corvid conspiracy is a myth."
it. Clem, Clem just gives him a slight side eye and goes and and looks to the guy who's the more reasonable one and says, "You say your mother, your grandmother's lived here for a long time.
Hmm.
Did this blight come on all of a sudden, or did it start maybe on another farm and spread, or maybe did it
Well, yeah,
start
I
seeing
mean,
signs?"
it like started small, right? Like, the thing is, somebody noticed it first over at the Arthur farm. Like, they spotted it first, but then by the time they told everybody that they had it, everyone checks their own fields, and it was already in several places. And so, like, everyone, you try to get everything you can. You burn the contaminated stuff and a little around it, and you're hoping to save the rest of the field. But it keeps breaking containment. It's like it's bad, is what it is. I'm honestly scared. I mean,
Hmm,
obviously, like, sure, you can contain it by burning the whole field, but then what are you going to eat in 3 months?
exactly. Which is why I don't think the duchy would be ones to destroy poison your fields, seeing as if they want to take this place over, they'd want to eat it too.
The one guy just says, "Look, the duchy just doesn't want the Marquisate to keep moving. They want to keep the Marquisate back, and so that they can do their thing unopposed. Like, I mean, think about it, right? Like, blights in the soil, they're on the soil. It like makes sense, doesn't it?"
Hmm. I mean,
Can't
you
trust
would
anybody
think if
underground, right?
you would think if they spend a lot of their time underground, poisoning where they live or potentially could live would not be a good idea. But he looks at the other guy and he says, "Does someone have, say, a farmer's an almanac or a collection of what has happened over the seasons in this town?"
I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. Not like as a book. You mean? I mean, like, all we do here is just like it's just gets passed down, right? So I mean, my grandma is probably as close to an almanac as you're gonna get.
Hmm.
I mean,
Well,
but it's not like we didn't already ask her about this. What she told us is that when their blights come, you burn the contaminated parts. You try to keep it from spreading. I mean, that's what you do.
did you say anything about this having happened before? Maybe pointed out a cycle, like say if it happened every 50 years or
I, I'll be honest. I've been kind of busy.
100.
Beyond just this is what you do for blights, I haven't gotten into the weeds, so to speak, with her.
That's fine.
Sounds like someone we need to talk to.
Look,
I,
I
I,
mean, obviously we're in the middle of something here, and it's kind of time sensitive. So I mean, look, you see the house down that way? You can just kind of points at a farmhouse that's not too far away. It's like you go in there, you ask for Millie. I am sure she will be happy to talk your ear off. Oh wait, you're yeah, turtles, right? So sorry.
right.
It's not
And he's
offensive,
like,
is it? I
oh,
mean, I'm sorry if it is. I didn't mean it.
he's like, no, he's like, no, you're fine.
Okay.
He's like, trust me. He's like, I have an eclectic group of friends, so I get it. He's like, but
See, I
the
could have
only other
said talk
thing.
your shell off, but that would almost sound like something else.
Clem says, Clem says, Clem says, my shell's a little too heavy to be taking on and on. Although, do you have any contaminated crops? May I have a sample of?
Well, yeah. I mean, he kind of just gestures over to the corner of the field that they were getting ready to burn. It's like,
He's like,
now, I mean,
Yeah,
if
you
you're
can
gonna
pick it
take
up and then
some, like,
shake.
don't
Shake
like
it around.
like I would advise you look at it here and then we burn it. We're not looking to just spread whatever it is around, right? It's something grows on it. I think it's like I mean, some people say a fungus, but I don't know if like is a mushroom. I don't know. Okay, I don't know what it is. Point is, we're burning it so it doesn't spread. So don't like just drag it through all the other fields. Okay.
Oh, no. That's absolutely not what I'm going to do. And one last question: how has the Marquisate helped you in facing this? Have they sent people to help you burn the fields? Have they proposed solutions or fertilizers or something to
Yeah. Okay.
assist in it?
So here's the thing. Like what we're getting a lot from them. Like okay, I don't want to like overstate this. They have a lot of big ideas about how the farming could be improved. And so what I'm feeling like right now is that we're in crisis and we're getting a lot of stuff about how if we had installed drip irrigation last season, this wouldn't be happening right now. But here we are now. Like they have a lot of great ideas that sound really expensive and designed to stop this from happening in the future. However, it seems like what we're doing right now is all that can be done. They do have like some of the farms that are short of hands, like they've got some people helping with the burns and stuff like that, but it seems like that's what can be done, right? And it's where this is what you do for blights.
Hmm. Well, that gives me a few ideas, but I'll have to talk with my friends.
Now,
I have
see, the
another
thing
friend.
is, like they keep saying that they're gonna we're gonna get a new sawmill. Sawmill can't get stopped building because they got to divert all the people over to fix the fort, and then and everything's going wrong. Like people don't want them to you know you've been
Hmm.
in town. You seen those trees in the middle of town, right? Like, okay, yeah, all right. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, those are like historic landmarks, and I'm like, having somebody's bay window fall on your head is not a historic landmark to me. So honestly, the idea that the Marquesade's coming in and they're gonna like make that land actually useful seems great to me. But obviously, there's people in town that's like, oh, the history, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's like a bunch of birds' history from like 100 years ago. Like, why is that our history? It's not my history.
Oh, those are part of Corvid history?
No, like Erie Dynasty. Like even, yeah,
Oh, hmm.
a bunch of
That is
hoity-toity
also.
noble birds who literally look down on everybody else.
Hmm.
I
That's
mean, good
another
riddance as
interesting
far as I'm
fact.
concerned. I don't know why we need to keep their houses around.
Clem makes a mental note. Maybe Nigel. Maybe he should change. Arvin should change that armor. Hmm. Hmm. It is, but he's going to get a little sack and try to get a sample of the blight. Is it a mushroom fungus or what does it look
So looking at it, what you see on the crops is basically just like on the leaves, you see lots of like yellow and brown spots on the leaves, and some along the stems, but mostly on the leaves. But then some of these plants that have been entirely dug up, like if you look sort of among the roots, there are in certain spots on the roots, there's sort of these fibrous white growths on the roots as well.
like? Okay, so he'll take a clump of part of the roots and some leaf clippings and put them in his little sack,
Okay.
and he's going to tie it very tightly and put it in his shell and make sure it does not fall because he does not need fungi growing in his
Sure.
shell.
You'd almost be better off putting it in a glass or a
I
bottle or
use my
something.
shell. I use my shell as a weapon, so that might be dangerous.
Yeah. Suddenly we're gonna get cordyceps, Clem, like from Last of Us.
Oh God.
Anyway, I think as you maybe start heading towards the house, let's cut back to let's see, Lancelot. You know, you were what
Okay.
we were gonna have. You're sitting around, just seeing who
Mhm.
comes in, who doesn't. You
Yep.
chatting up
Chat,
Luciana.
yep, chatting to people with in general, and do some chores while things are still quiet. But
Okay.
eventually, just want to listen to gossip. Um, I'm not really questioning people.
Mhm.
I'm just more keeping my ears open and yeah, and playing some banjo
Okay.
and
Well,
singing, of course, because
sure,
my
sure.
banjo playing is not the star of the show.
Okay, well, so how about this? I think that let's have you do a trust fate roll to see what gossip you hear. But let's have
Okay,
you, I'm going to say charm rather than finesse for your
right,
performance. Because although, you know, certainly finesse might make sense in terms of banjo technique, charm makes more sense for a performance, right? Like,
right, right. Okay, well, first the trust fate roll.
mhm.
Uh, the dice have betrayed me once again.
Oh
Roll
no.
snake eyes.
Yeah. Okay.
Ah, okay. So I don't hear any useful
Well, no,
gossip, but
let's come back around to that, but go ahead and do your other
okay,
roll first.
okay, let's come on, dice, don't fail me now. I'm giving you another chance. Ah, yes, a 10 plus 3 is 13.
Um, so I think that what happens uh, as you are performing. Wait, so you rolled high for your performance? Is that what you just?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's going really well, and kind of in between, you're kind of trying to get a sense of what people are talking about. And so far, at least, everyone's kind of talking about pretty like
Very
basic,
mundane thing.
ordinary day to day stuff that's not terribly interesting. But
Mhm.
see, here's the thing: in Powered by the Apocalypse, a miss is not just that you
Nothing
don't
happened.
get good
Something
information. I
right.
think what
Yeah.
happens instead is that a, a magpie, not Peppa obviously, but a different one, um, comes in and sits kind of in the corner, um,
Mhm.
orders a beer, and then just gives you the just a look like, I see you, I know who you are, I'm here, I'm watching you, and there's a little bit of a look of like, I'm waiting.
Aha. Okay. Well, um, if that magpie isn't going to actually come over and start a conversation, I'm not going to go and talk to her.
No,
So
yeah. I mean, if you want, you can make a well, like
but
I mean, if you're not approaching, they're not approaching either. You get the
yeah,
impression that right now, what it is they want you to know that they are
that
watching you,
they're watching. Yeah.
but
Okay.
otherwise they're not doing anything. They are
Okay.
here to watch, but they want you to know that's happening.
Right. 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 Okay.
Hmm. All right, so. Uh,
Um. During a break,
mm-hmm.
um, uh, I'm gonna go over to Lucinda.
Luciana.
Lucinda. Yeah, Luciana, and like that magpie over in the corner. Is she a local?
Can't say I've ever seen her before.
Thanks. And then, you know, uh, wet my whistle a little and go back to singing.
All right,
Yep.
all right. So does that put a damper on your attempting to get more gossip, or are you kind of just you're just playing it cool?
No, I'm gonna continue that plan. I don't nothing
Well,
terrible
so
has.
like you're listening, but you're not soliciting.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I am listening but not soliciting, and also just kind of I'm not lucky enough that things fall in my lap. Clearly not. But that was my plan, and I don't see any reason to stop.
Okay.
So, yeah, and basically waiting for my friends to come back from their
Mhm.
peregrinations.
Sure,
So to
sure.
speak.
So I think Arbin and Peppa might be, well, I guess it depends. With your sort of initial search, kind of completed, are you just heading back to the roadhouse?
Unless Peppa has a better idea. I'm willing to entertain suggestions since she has so kindly put up with my tactical military approach. I feel like maybe maybe Peppa should actually get to play with the ball, as so to speak.
Okay, I think what Peppa wants to do is look for secret roads in and out.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
That's also
Well, secret
tactical.
roads in and out, like.
Secret paths. I'm talking about the smuggler's path move.
Well, yeah. I mean, I figured that was
Yeah.
the move, but like in and out of what, the town?
Yeah,
So I mean, there's the main paths, and then there is you can walk into the forest anywhere.
right.
Um,
Okay,
I
so
mean the smuggler's path move, like I think it's not a walled city, right?
right.
So I
Right.
mean, if you're trying to do something in secret, like you could do that from just about anywhere. I guess if
Okay.
you're looking for something like like I guess I think maybe more specific.
Okay.
Or at least maybe a better understanding of what you were thinking you might find. Because I'm not sure I understand, like, given the geography here, like, what would a secret path be?
I'm looking, more particularly, I'm looking for signs of another group coming in. Basically, I'm looking for signs that maybe the Grand Duchy actually does have a tunnel
Oh,
coming
okay.
up here,
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and
see.
so that the blight on the crops doesn't follow a particular pattern, so
Mhm.
that's not going to show us
Right.
something like that.
I'm not going to
But
require you to make a roll that to say you don't see any signs of an incipient tunnel. However, generally speaking, there aren't signs until it's pretty close to done.
yeah, right,
So you don't see any evidence of it, but you know that like there often isn't much.
right. Yeah, I just thought it would be a good, given the troubles that we've had with the Grand Duchy
Oh,
in the past. I thought it was a good idea to keep an eye
yeah.
out and see.
So again, This is not pretending you didn't look. What I'm saying is you looked and you didn't see any. So I'm just not
Okay.
having you make a roll because I think it's
Okay.
not.
No, that's fine.
Mhm.
That is absolutely fine.
Okay.
Nope, I am satisfied. Peppa is going to while away the journey back by doing unnecessary acrobatics, like doing barrel rolls around Arbin, messing with his slipstream.
This is the revenge.
Diving, skimming the ground, coming back up.
Sigh.
So
I will take it in good technique.
I think that at some point while this is happening, I think Peppa, you are pretty entertained with your own activity there.
Uh-huh.
But I think Arbin, you see as you are sort of, you probably wouldn't have noticed except that there's a brief minute where Peppa kind of spins you around. But I think you see, kind of in the distance, back towards one of these clumps of trees, you see a little tiny wren boy, like a child, that seems to be mimicking Peppa's stunts at a distance.
So when Peppa comes up near on her next stunt, is that I'll say to her, "You've got an admirer."
They have good taste. Voom.
So not going back or anything, just
No,
okay.
No.
All right.
no, just
It's a
keeping
nice-
keeping on.
Keeping on.
All right. Yeah, so they don't follow closer. So as you are getting further away, they kind of, I think in fact you just sort of look back at one point and don't see them anymore. So as you are coming back, Nigel, would you have been going back to the inn after being escorted out of the town hall? Oh, we don't
I
hear you.
think you're muted.
I was muted, yes.
Mhm.
So I think he would go. I kind of go around town, like you mentioned there's general store, blacksmith, just like kind of go and look around, see if there's anything interesting. Just yeah, he's not being in a rush,
Okay.
but kind of working his way back to the inn.
Okay. All right. So you're just taking your time. I
Yeah.
think probably at some point you would spot Nigel or excuse me, Arbin and Peppa flying overhead.
Yeah.
All right. So Clem, you head on over to the farmhouse that was indicated.
Yep.
All right.
I'm gonna go introduce myself to Miss Mill.
All right. So what do? You just see, it's a little farmhouse. There's smoke coming from the chimney.
He'll knock on the door.
Okay. Um. What you hear is, who is it?
My name's Clem, ma'am. Your grandson told me that you know the history of this place, and I was trying to find out about what's going on with the fields.
Well, it's about time someone comes and asks old Millie. Now you just come on in now, so I don't have to get up.
All right. And he will shimmy through the door.
All right. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not locked, and then sure enough, kind of just over by the fireplace, you've got this tiny little old mouse lady sitting in a rocking chair, and she just looks over at you and says, "Well, I haven't met a turtle in, gosh, it's been a long time." What
Yeah,
can
we're not.
what's your name, honey?
My name's Clem, ma'am.
Oh, very nice to meet you, Clem. My name is Millie, although maybe my grandson told you that already.
He did, ma'am.
So, I have lived in this town my entire life, and I can tell you just about anything I can remember about it, which is maybe not as much as it would have been last year, but it's still a lot.
And I'm sure it'll be very important because, like I asked your grandson, sometimes blights can come in cycles. Kind of like locusts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the blights, it's bad. It's not. We last time we had it come through here, it just devastated us. We had a lot of people in the town actually had to move on because they just couldn't get anything to eat here. We had people going hungry. It was really awful. I hope they can do something about it. It won't be as bad this time.
So you said it came before. Did it have the same symptoms and signs on crops as it does now?
Well, I mean, it looks the same to me. I'm not gonna. I mean, I've worked on the farm, but I'm not gonna pretend that I know the difference between every single kind of blight that might be out in the world. But it looks the same to me.
Hmm. And when did
my
this
my my grandson's idiot friend says the Dutchie did it. I think that's just nonsense.
Oh, I met him. He's a unique character.
Well, he's a firecracker, and he is a fun guy to drink beers with. I am sure. However, his head is full of nonsense.
So I agree because I don't think the duchy, if they wanted to take over this town and dig their way into it, would poison what they were digging
Well,
But
I don't know what all the Dutchy might do. I just know it doesn't take a conspiracy for there to be a blight.
not at all. And then you said this happened before. How long ago was that?
I think it was probably somewhere along the lines of maybe 25, 25, 27 years maybe.
Hmm.
I mean, there's been little bits here and there, something comes up sickly or you get beetles come through or something, but, blight like this one, that's about the last time I remember one. It was just like this, and we lost pretty much all crops in the whole town.
Hmm.
I keep telling
You're
them
go-
like, there. See, the problem is you got to burn it away, but I understand everyone's worried about. They think they're going to burn too much and not have anything left, but you burn too little and it just spreads to the rest anyway.
Yes, it's like a disease limb. Sometimes instead of trying to take the disease part, you just have to take the limb.
Yeah. Well, all I know is it's a hard, tough choice because you know we know how bad it is if you burn the whole field.
Hmm. It is a hard row to hoe, as they say.
Well,
I
actually, I wonder, because that's the other thing is, I don't know if I completely trust these Marcus 8 cats moving in. Like, they got a lot of fancy ideas, and I don't know, some of them sound okay to me, but they also sound a lot like, you know, they know what's right, and what their way is the only way, and they're not very interested in listening to how we used to do things because they think their new ways are better. But that said, I mean, it said, what they're also saying is that if we do end up having to burn the fields, that they're going to be able to take care of the town. People won't go hungry, they say.
Hmm. Now here's a question, and I know you may not know this, but did the blight show signs before the Marcus Age showed up, or did it happen to show up after they came bearing so many wonderful new ideas that
Oh
some of
well,
the
no, I
townsfolk
mean
refused?
it was after, but I mean it's the season for it. I mean,
Hmm.
like they'd been here weeks before the blight started. Blight has been around. Like I mean they've we've been fighting it for good 2 weeks or so, but the Marcus 8 was here long before that.
Oh, so the spreading has been swift then.
Oh yeah, I mean it goes fast. It's fast. We're out there checking it every day. You try to go through and you try to check every plant, but it's hard. And like you don't know sometimes because it's underground, right? Like you're trying to look for the spots, but sometimes you've got it in the roots before it even shows on the leaves.
Exactly. Because if it was something on the leaves, you could probably even prune some of the crops and not have it spread. But if it's at the root,
Right.
the plant is
No, no,
lost.
because the thing about this blight is it's the roots that are doing it, right? Like it's growing on the roots, and the spots on the leaves are just the symptoms. It's kind of like saying, you know, uh, if you got a cold, the treatment isn't to stop coughing, right? Like the problem's in you already by that time. But the problem is,
Indeed.
like you can't check the roots without digging up the plant anyway.
And like you said, if the leaves are spotted, then it's already too late. Hmm.
So, like, I'm sure that, they say that they're looking into, some other kind of solution, but I don't know if anything is going to be able to be done in time. If they have to send back, for, you know, they've got some fancy plant scientists back in the Marcus 8 that's got, it's going to have the perfect solution for us. By the time they get it here, it's going to be too late.
Hmm. Do you have how are your fields irrigated? How do y'all water them? Could
Well,
it maybe be something that's spread in the water?
I mean, maybe I don't know about all that. I mean, we get fair amount of rain here. We don't usually have to supplement too much. But when we do, usually what we're just doing is, we're, you know, filling buckets at the well and kind of, you know,
Oh,
rolling on by.
hmm. And I'm
Try to
guessing
keep
that's
the soil, moist where you can.
is that a well here on the farm, or is there like a central well for the town?
Oh, I mean, there's lots of wells all over town. I mean, they probably all get from water from the same place more or less anyway.
Okay. Hmm.
I
Well,
mean,
I'm
like
going to
they're all digging down into the same water if you follow me, right?
indeed, and your grandson said it started to show signs on another farm, but by the time that they said anything, it, all
Well,
the other farms had checked and it was already spread.
yeah, it's like I said, and it was just the same back then because, the thing is, by the time you see the spots on the leaves, it's already in the roots. And by the time, we found it in one place, it was probably already in all the others anyway.
Hmm. Well, I've got some very ingenuitive friends, and I think we're going to look into this. We ran into something similar in another town where some some normal flour was contaminated with red millet. So we've come across a lot of interesting things going on in some of the towns, and this one is another one, and we would like to look into it. Although, if I have some suspicions about what's going on, I don't think the ones doing it would be very happy of us looking into it, especially if we figure it out and give you a way to get rid of
You,
the blight growths.
you think someone might have actually done it on purpose? I mean, I just have a hard time believing that. Blights happen.
That is true, but we've seen a lot of strange happenings, especially seeing as with people like the Duchy and the Marquisate moving around and advancing into new areas. Some people don't like that too much, and they like to go scorched earth over polite discourse.
Well, I don't know if you maybe been listening to my grandson's friend a little more than I would recommend. But I don't
Oh,
know. Who knows? You might be right. There's all sorts of change on the wind these days. But I just have a hard time imagining anyone resorting to something like this. I mean, that red millet scam, like that's something that crops up every so often. People try to save money by switching out or whatever. But like what? Like see, the thing is, blights they spread, right? You can't just blight one field and expect it to not be in the next one tomorrow.
indeed. And as fast as it seems to be moving, maybe it could have been, say, someone thought they could blight one field and cut it off at, before it got too far and it just got out of hand.
She leans forward and she takes one of your hands in both of hers and she says, or it could just be a blight because blights happen and they look like
Could
this.
Oh, Grandma, I love you.
Yeah.
it
We love
could
Now,
Clem
Grandma.
says,
look, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's a little bit like saying, oh, look, I see raindrops out the window. It might be someone standing on my roof pouring out a watering can. Or it might just be raining.
well,
That is an
for
awesome saying.
and he goes, honestly, for your town and for all you kind folks, I hope it is just raining.
Well, okay, but it's still a blight. That's still bad. So, I mean,
Indeed.
I'm just saying it's a blight and that's bad regardless of what it was. It seems like, to my mind, it is a young person's preoccupation that anytime something bad happens, it must be somebody's fault. And let me tell you, in my experience, Clem, son, sometimes bad things just happen. It's just bad luck.
Very, honestly, very true. Although I hate to say this, but me and my crew of friends, I wish we could say that strange things happen where we go just by happenstance. But at this point, enough has happened to where we tend to be on the skeptical side.
Sonny, I've been talking with you for 10 minutes, and I already wouldn't believe you if you told me that it just happens.
And and Clem goes, well, I hope. And Clem goes, well, I want to thank you for all your advice. And I hope that bucket runs out of water soon.
Well, I hope so too. Hopefully they can burn away what's there, and I appreciate your heart because I can tell you're here because you see a problem, you wanna solve it, and although I'd say sometimes those problems just you can't just magically make them go away, but I appreciate the desire in your heart to do what you can, and I think that's a blessing.
Well, thank you for your time. I need to go find my friends now so we can compare notes. And he will give her a kindly hug, even though he's kind of awkward, leaning with his shell, and she's so small as he makes his way out.
Yeah, I mean she is just like you're just she's very small.
She could crawl
She's
into
kind
his
of
shell.
hunched in, yeah, like but she's got but her ears are enormous in proportion to her head, and she's just got crinkly little whiskers, and she's just adorable.
Yes.
All right. Make
Yeah.
sure you shut the
And
door
he
all the way now. Like sometimes it doesn't latch if you don't like push it closed.
Yes, ma'am. And he'll make sure to shut.
All right.
And
All
then
right.
he will head to go find the rest of the team.
All right. So I think what with everything that went on, it doesn't seem outside the realm of possibility that we get everyone arriving more or less at the same time. And so I think everyone else is probably hearing Lancelot's banjo on the air as you're approaching, and probably as you come in and glance around. Certainly Peppa you would notice anyway, but yeah, the magpie in the corner makes eye contact with each of you as you come in, but otherwise just sips their drink.
Yep. Peppa will lean over to Arbin and is like, I am so glad that practice is paying off. It's so nice to see it's so nice to see Lancelot happy and like playing to his strengths and enjoying himself, and B, it's so nice that we're out of the twangy
Tiny zone.
twangy
Yes.
twangy did you break a string there, buddy? Phase.
Yeah.
When Clem comes in and shows up, he kind of sees the magpie making eye contact with everyone. He kind of looks at you guys and goes, "No offense to you guys, because you are some of my feathered fowl friends. I've had about enough of seeing shady birds keeping their eyes on us."
Oh, so you approach them and you say that?
Oh, I approach Arvin and Pippa.
Arbin and
I see.
Peppa.
Okay.
Not the magpie. Not
So
the
you're
shady
saying that
magpie.
to your friends
Mhm.
as opposed to
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Ask the
Yeah.
magpie.
And when Nitro comes in, you'll notice the magpie, mostly ignore it and just go to everybody else and say, well, it seems like we are not going to get any assistance from the leaders in the blight, in taking care of the blight.
I don't think we would. And Clem tells them what he learned from the grandson and Millie, who I'm dubbing Millie the Minnie Mouse. And he says, Millie's not wrong. This could be just a blight, but when we go somewhere or show up somewhere, things tend to not just happen. And given what you said, Nigel, I wouldn't be surprised if they had a hand in causing this blight, because this town doesn't seem to be very progressive when it comes to what they've been doing for decades, if not centuries. And if you want to force a hand, if their way doesn't work, but you can show them that yours magically does, it's a real easy way to get their hand to get a foothold somewhere. And since you, Arvin, have said that this place isn't as guarded as one would want, especially with how the duchy likes to invade, they might have thought that they could basically run a con to get a foothold here without the military might.
I don't know if that's the case or more like they're being spread out by other events. I think they came here in their normal force, but the blight, the explosion, their efforts in Sundell are stretching the Marcus thin here.
I think
Yep.
it's while this discussion is happening that Nigel would like to start looking through his.
Sure.
Hi.
I think
Books
that's
for the-
actually a great place to kind of wrap up as you start pouring through your books, because I think what you discover going through there is that first of all, you certainly find some descriptions of blights that have happened, in various places across history, and that there is, in fact, you have found in regions outside this part of the woodland, there has been a type of chemical treatment that is supposedly effective against these kinds of blights. But the problem has tended to be that the know-how of how to produce it is difficult to, it's difficult to have that spread across various lands. It's not just a thing that you can go out in your backyard and then you just have some. You have to make it. But you do know more or less like the ingredients needed, but you would need to find. So what you have found is that there is a substance that is known as the Crochelle mixture, and it consists of, to some extent, there's some real stuff here, is like, it's essentially made from copper sulfate and lime mixed in water. And then if you can apply that in the right proportions to the crops, it can protect and even drive back some of these fungal blight infestations. And so the trick, though, is, again, that lime is a bit more commonplace. It's used for a variety of things. It's basically, you heat limestone in a special way. Copper sulfate is a little bit harder because it requires sulfuric acid to make. But essentially what you know is that this is a substance that would probably be helpful if you could find a way to get it made, but doing so would require like special materials and equipment.
Okay.
Too bad the,
I actually
too
have
bad
an
the,
idea right now of how to get the sulfuric acid. I believe that's one of the things used in like etching for metals.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, actually, that's kind of how it's used here in some ways. It's just rather than etching away just a piece, you are kind of etching a bunch.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, there's a blacksmith, and they might have a supply of that. Even small, but
The
something
the,
to
the
test.
trick is a small amount is not enough. You need like mass
Industrial
quantities,
quantities.
industrial quantities in order to have enough to, because this stuff would literally need to be sprayed across all the fields.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking like something, you know, you know, it can get an amount for like one field, prove that hey, this works.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you could talk about that. I'm just saying, like, there are potentially ways, but certainly what the trick of this, the challenge of this, so to speak, is that in order to really be successful here, you're going to need more than a little bit. You're going to need
Yeah.
a lot.
Okay. Well, that's an answer at least.
Well, we can, if we need facilities, the blacksmith and the sawmill and some good old elbow grease, we might be able to do something if we have time. But recently, we haven't had a lot of time staying in places.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think with this information that there's potentially a way, but it might be challenging. That's, I think, where we're gonna leave off our session for tonight. So, shall we talk about session moves?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, once again, Nigel, you have ambition. I don't think you increased your reputation tonight.
Oh.
Nor would I say you've done development, although certainly curing the blight would qualify if you managed
Oh,
to
yeah.
get that done. That would
Oh, yeah.
absolutely count. Arbin, folk hero? No, not this
No.
time. Wanderlust? Yes.
Yep.
Especially you guys have been on the move so much that that Wanderlust seems like a pretty reliable one.
Yeah.
Or at
Yeah.
the very
Well,
least, you have control over when it happens.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly
Yeah.
what I was going to say.
Likewise, Lancelot, Wanderlust, and I believe Peppa also has Wanderlust, so you certainly get those. Anti-militarist wouldn't qualify this time, and then Clem, I think your wanted isn't relevant this time, but and in Mysteries Advanced, you seem really determined that this this blight be a
All the
mystery.
light.
I
Yeah,
think you wouldn't. Yeah, no, you don't. So I'm not.
Not yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, as Nicolas Cage would say, in the great Spirit of Vengeance. I'm knocking on the door. Knocking on the door.
Yeah. Clem is one brain event from being a conspiracy theorist.
No, I think he's already there. He's already there, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
I
We're-
was just
listen.
laughing at how much you rolled your eyes at the one guy and then agreed with her that yeah, he's full
Well-
of nonsense. But he makes some pretty good points. As long as I come to the opinions separately from him, I didn't get them from him, but he makes a lot of sense.
because I don't think the Duchy would do it.
Okay.
I think
Well-
the Corvid conspiracy or
Well, okay.
the Marcusing.
So what I'll say is, you can't rule out the Corvid conspiracy. They are all over the place, right? You know, they already
And-
blew up fortress, right, the fortifications. The Marcus 8 would have to be playing some real 4D chess or 4D Go for that to make any sense at all. Because on the face of it, this blight is profoundly inconvenient for them. It is a big part of why their war effort right now is not going well.
And it's ruining their reputation for being able to handle stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, right now, the blight is a big problem for the Marcus 8. So it seems like it's not the most obvious motive.
True, and which is why I was definitely leaning more. Seriously.
Well, you know,
Okay.
hey, you never know. You never know.
And those explosions could have been used to cover up the infestation of the blight. Because as we have done, making a lot of noise turns a lot of heads.
Yep.
Don't-
It
you
will
know?
make a great distraction.
Yeah, don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain.
All right, so if you want to solve a blight, you're going to have to find a number of things that are not entirely uncommon, except in that you need them in industrial quantities, and then prepared with some specialized equipment, but could be done. And
You're the end
have,
team.
yeah, we'll have to find out what else might happen here in Patchwood when we return for more Root the Role Playing Game next week on so many levels. Thank you for everyone for listening and or watching. We love you, and we'll be back.
So many levels.
Yay.
So very many levels.